sippers. Hey, hey, hey. I am just now getting some food all day. I don't think I've eaten all day. Just now. It's been one of them type days. You know what I mean? It's been one of them days. And I hear not just for me, but for the Diddy going into week 4. What do I call it? This is just so bizarre. I ain't never seen nothing like it. Never. I guess Brian still did what he was supposed to do, what he was instructed to do. And that was rip into Mia. And I guess everybody should have known that when he said, "You weak, ain't you? You weak, ain't you?" We gonna see. We finna eat your up. Since the feds think they gonna eat me up. And they ripped into her. And I said, what, Friday? That she was they win. That won. But they didn't win the week. They just won that day. You know. And did they win today? I don't know. It remains to be seen because the prosecuting team, the feds, the government, brought in a surprise witness who was going to plead the fifth. He was subpoenaed from the hotel, Garcia. Yeah. Now, I don't know what he bringing, but he was going to plead the fifth. He was offered immunity. And I don't know if he testified. We're going to hear about it. Now, I really don't want to stall too long. Because I just don't. I'm just ready for them to come on and be done with this. And at this point, I'm ready to be done with Mia. Ooh, I hate to tell Pressure he was right. Ooh! Big Pressure. Be Pressure. You was right. Now, she's still a victim. But she is most definitely... Oh, Lord. Can I brace myself? She's a weak one. She's a weak one. You still scared of him, it appears. I just thank God. Lord in heaven knows, I thank God that Stockholm syndrome, that victim, I just thank God. And I ain't saying I don't have no issues. I ain't gonna say I ain't never been in denial about some traumatic experiences, because I have. And I do understand how it can have a psychological impact on you. And not wanting to connect certain dots. You can think it's one thing, you know, that's triggering you, not realizing it's another. And sometimes Those triggers are close to you. And you don't even recognize. Yeah. Yeah. So I understand that part of it. But baby, I am not going to say this chick right here, they did not prep her right. Or she's that traumatized that she couldn't even understand being prepped for the defense team. Now maybe she didn't know that they was gonna stick steel on her. I don't know what they thought. I guess they was thinking that because she came in all fragile, that in secret. And then I heard that they, although she had already been exposed, I heard they act like they mistakenly leaked her identity. Now, I will say this, Diddy's team, he picked the right team, because when I tell you they pull stunts, they play in your face. They play slap dead in your face. Shout out to Tisa. Shout out to the Chronicle lady. Shout out to Real Life Street Stars. These are people who because even though they won on me, they still losing. They have still, with or without her, proven racketeering. They've proven RICO. They've proven more than 2 of the 8 that they need. So the juries that feel like that they are pro Diddy, that's going to be, you know, they're going to try to tie up, they can't. They're not going to be able to, based on the judge's guidelines and how they have to reach their judgment, because the feds have proven it, and they're going to continue to prove it. There's no way around forced work. There's no way around it. He overworked them and didn't pay them. And he's already settled. He's already settled in a lawsuit. And they only paid back pay in wages that was due to the employee. That's already proven. It's already been proven that there was Hataquan, that they paid for male hookers. They've proved that. They've proved drugs. They've proved that. So even if they have somebody that they don't pay, you know, that $20 an hour type, you know, I'm sure it's more than $20 an hour. I'm just being facetious. Even if he do have some pro, there's no way you can, without perjuring yourself, say you don't see those things. When you got 11, plus you got the documentation showing you these things. Now how you gonna move past that without exposing yourself and getting yourself in trouble? So that means that he would still be having an enterprise of people doing illegal things for him. That's already been proven. It's just so many things that's already been proven, and all they need is 2 of 8. So they can bounce around this, they can say and they can do, they can present, they can go in over ear with harassing this lady who's been victim. They can re-victimize, they can do all of that. They cannot erase certain people. They can't erase the video. They cannot erase the video. Just that one. Not all the other stuff. Not all the other freak outs. Just that one when he was running down the highway. There was a leak. Can't erase that. You can't erase that. You can't erase, hey, Willie Spencer, you can't erase a Capricorn Clark's statement. You can't erase that. The abandoned building, one light, chain smoker, fat man sitting at a table with a lie detector. You cannot erase that. You can't erase him coming to her house, saying, you know, why you didn't tell me, where does he live, and going to his spot to unalive him. You can't erase that he was on the phone with Kid Cudi. On the phone. So you can't erase that there was a situation. Not situation. Situation. You can't erase that. You can't erase that. You can't erase the security guard at the hotel who failed at protecting her properly. You can call police. You didn't. He should have went to jail, and he didn't. He offered you money to make it go away. Bribery. You can't erase that. All of that is mobster, you know, gang-like, racketeering, RICO. Again, I don't care how many witnesses, not witnesses, jurors are bored, yawning, rolling their eyes at her. Don't believe Mia. May not, okay. It's still not enough for them to erase all the other witnesses. The stylist guy who said, yeah, I introduced them. Hell, he fine, she fine. Diddy, you know, he cool. You know, shoot, he go both ways. So, you know, hell, I got to keep a friend like that. He got, he catered to, I can't say that. Allegedly, I be enjoying them parties. I mean, but I ain't like how he did Cassie. I still talk to him every now and then, but it don't erase the fact that he was abusive and he was manipulating and he was playing on her, and he had moved on with somebody else. So yeah, I introduced him, and he beat her up so bad. I had to jump on this fool's back, and he was so outraged. He was like a animal, a wild animal, and slung me off as well as Mia. You can't erase that, baby. You can't erase that. You understand what I'm saying? You can't erase that. And with those people, without even hearing, let's just erase, let's just X out Mia. You still have proved it. What you got from her that is the most relevant is that she worked the first day of work 24 hours in a day. All type of labor laws. Unheard of. She worked straight for 5 days. And in Capricorn, one of them, maybe it was that other girl, I don't know which one, said on a good day, she got 4 hours of sleep. On a bad one, it was 2. And Lord in heaven knows, don't let them go back and pull making of the band. Because, you know, them videos popping up all over the place. All there walking to different cities to get some damn cheesecake in the middle of the night. Waking them up 4 days in the morning, up all night. Lori Ann, ooh, they better not call her. Ooh, baby, Lori Ann Gibson. Because that's the one that I saw here recently when they were supposed to work all weekend long, and she said, ooh, shit. And guess what? Mike from Belle Biv DeVoe, he's sitting there looking stupid when she's standing up for herself. And he like, but you can't, you know, he looking all scared. Have he entered into your kingdom, Mike? I can't say that. Has he entered into your kingdom? Why was you so submissive? Huh? Okay. Well, anyway, she talked about, they do better when they get some rest. He fired her, they got into it. She stood up for herself and for those kids. So it's a pattern. It's been a pattern. There's receipts. So again, they've already proved it. So now they just laying the icing on the cake. He done already passed out on life support from all the sugar that they done laid. Now they just icing up the cake. And then toward the end, his ass is gonna already be unalived. I'm talking about on as far as in this case. And it's gonna be the nail in the coffin. So let's listen. I don't know what Dave, the surprise witnesses, but he ain't gonna be the only one. I wanna see who gonna be man enough or woman enough after they subpoena to get up there and say, I plan to plead the fifth and become a co-conspirator. And or become a cooperating witness. And I'm talking about like his security, D-Rock, you know, somebody who he real close with. Hey, XSX Rage. Hey, I saw your comment today from yesterday. Thank you. Thank you. I'm glad you enjoyed the show yesterday. We about to go in again. We're about to go in. And I'm going to listen. And I'm going to give my reaction on what happened. Thank you, baby. Today. I'm ready for D-Rock. I wish they would reach out to Suge Knight. Offer him a few years off of his sentence. And try to get listen. Listen, y'all nasty ass men out there who have been doing the same thing in this cult that we have unanimously. It was like 500 almost. No, it was like over 600 and some people voted yesterday. That it wasn't unanimous, but baby, it was just 70-something% of the people say it's a cult. Now, listen to AunTeaFee. If you know that you've been doing some of the same stuff, you may want to go ahead and allow them to subpoena you, reach out to them and go and tell it. Go on and tell it. Go and get immunity. Apologize to your victims sincerely and get ahead of what Boosie said 2 or 3 weeks ago. They gonna get us on the back end. He right. He absolutely right. When he said Y'all don't see it. He right. Him right. Absolutely. They lining that ass up. So if I was you, don't say I ain't never gave you no good advice. I would go ahead and work with the prosecuting, work with the feds, and get some immunity so that they won't have to get your ass on the back end. Okay? Because it's coming. It'll be coming around the mountain when this is over. It'll be coming around the mountain when it comes. They are coming for you. They are coming for you. They are coming for you and you. Okay? I'm just, so don't say I ain't warn you. I ain't tell you. It's coming. And because it sounds like Suge know a lot on everybody in this hip-hop cult, y'all better let go of that snitch and get stitches. Non-snitchers get life in the federal penitentiary. So choose your sentence wisely. Okay, let's move on. Let's go. I don't know where I want to start. I got Mia here. Not Mia. Tisa. I got her here, but I don't know if I want to start with her. Let's go and start with her. She right here.
Jolise and Tisa, nobody does it better. Nobody. Da 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 da. Okay, so let's. Well, if it ain't Brian Steele, Mark Garrigo, the average person in America has no idea what's going on, and they're just reading the highlights from like TMZ, Wall Street Journal, the Rolling Stones. It actually is a big issue for the government to actually publish your picture when you've gone and taken things to be anonymous.
Did the government do it or the
to you, it's no big deal. But if
hold on.
Your identity or someone you loved identity, and you literally said that you would do this, and the government would make sure that within reasonable your identity was, new and approved. But I appreciate the compliment. Jessup, oh, thank you. I love you too. Okay. Listen. Also, you guys hit that like button. I am trying to grow during this trial. If you can do that, I will really appreciate it. So anyway, they published a picture to the general public in the overflow rooms as to exactly who Mia is. When that happened, the judge was like, okay, but I thought it was supposed to be redacted. Images and pictures into this little, really got on the level of you're doing too much. But the fact that they accidentally doxed Mia in court, y'all, let's talk about what actually happened. Right? So if you guys don't know, okay? If you guys don't know, Mia has been on the stand. When she walked in, those of us that used to watch her bowl, making of the band and all this stuff, everybody kind of knew who Mia was. Her face was recognizable, okay? We did say, a lot of journalist publications,
making of the band.
Yes, I am a journalist, that we're not going to reveal Mia's identity. Why? Because what purpose does it serve?
So was it Sarah?
And to be honest, I don't even think Mia has like a backstory outside of Diddy. She's always been working. It's never been anything crazy. So what happened, right? The government was showing pictures, right? Some was supposed to be redacted, some was supposed to be not redacted, okay? So whenever they showed Mia or the jury, it was whenever they showed Mia and the court, right? It was non-redacted. Whenever they showed the jury, and whenever the jury sees, the public sees, so there's two different views, it was redacted. So let's just say it's Exhibit 15, right? There'd be Exhibit 15, and then when they say permission to publish, and then the government would say, the judge would say, okay, it's admitted, and there would also be like an Exhibit 15R. 15R means redacted. So the judge would always say, they'd be permission to enter. The defense and prosecution are in charge of making a copy for the court that's regular and a copy to publish to the jury and the public, which is redacted. Okay, that's been going on, this and that. They added new images and pictures into this little binder that they've been showing the jury. Okay, that was that, right? Jin Jin said, thanks for the update, you're welcome. So that was that. But where did we come into trouble? Because the jury, the defense team literally said permission to publish. Dawn Breeden, thank you so much for the super chat.
The defense team.
Your Honor. Oh my God, look. A little squirrel.
Girl.
Aww. Is that a squirrel or a chipmunk? Chipmunk or a squirrel. I think it's the squirrel, right? Chipmunks are smaller. Anyway, about to take him home and make him a pet. Anyway. Anyway, right? So that's what's that. So they entered in a few pictures of Mia, okay? And the pictures that the jury saw was supposed to be redacted. So Mia's face was gray, was supposed to be blurred out, and then you see the rest of the picture, okay?
Okay.
Accidentally, it seems like the defense gave a copy to be entered in. Maybe the court made the mistake. Nobody's really owning up to it. Where it was published to the jury, it was published to the public in the overflow room. A picture of Mia with her full government face. Well, I guess her full God-given face, right? And everybody saw Mia in the picture, exactly what she looked like. Don't forget, the people in the overflow room are not supposed to be privy to what Mia looks like, okay? Maxie Dormibo said, the new and approved Wendy Williams. Ain't no new and approved, but I appreciate the compliment. Jessup, oh, thank you. I love you too.
Hey, Gladys.
Okay? Listen. Also, you guys, hit that like button. I am trying to grow during this trial. If you can do that, I would really appreciate it. So anyway, they published a picture to the general public in the overflow room as to exactly who Mia is. When that happened, the judge was like, okay, but I thought it was supposed to be redacted. The government was like, I thought it was supposed to be redacted too. Nobody really knew how it happened, but Mia, the woman that had been being, according to the U.S. attorneys, humiliated all day, dragged through the mud all day, exposed all day. Mia was, in fact, doxxed to the jury room. Now, I'm not saying the defense did it on purpose. I am saying that if we find out the defense, hey,
oh,
okay,
wow.
So
it was the
I
defense.
am saying that if we found out, right?
Who,
I am saying that if we
leaked
find
her.
out that it was doxed. Hold on, y'all. There's supposed to be an interview going on. What interview is it? Hold on. Let me go see. Hold on, y'all. Gotta go see. Who's giving the interview? Well, if it ain't Brian Steele, Mark Garagos, or somebody with alphabet behind them, we gonna sit down and finish this live, all right? Anyway. Okay.
Oh, we
all right,
gotta
let
go
me
to
sit
her
down and
next.
finish. All right. Get home safely. Bye-bye. Okay, so, right? That was a prosecution. Just came up, right? I said to get home safely. I really wanted to stop them and be like, what the hell? What the helly? What the helly berry? How did this happen? Anyway, right? Listen. Unscripted Angel said she was identified the first day. Being identified the first day by bloggers and by people that have no journalistic things is not the same as your, like, it's not the same. You guys are on YouTube. You guys are on Instagram. You guys are like following this the way I am. But you need to realize that the average person in America has no idea what's going on, and they're just reading the highlights from like TMZ, Wall Street Journal, the Rolling Stones. It actually is a big issue for the government to actually publish your picture when you've gone and taken things to be anonymous.
Right.
That's all I'm saying. So to you, it's no big deal. But if it was your identity or someone you loved identity, and you literally said that you would do this and the government would make sure that within reasonable your identity was protected, I don't think you'd be like,
baby, they was dropping names today.
You would be that callous, but right? Bronco the Boss said, love to everybody in the chat. Stay blessed. You too, Bronco. Also, Janice Carter said,
they was name dropping today.
Listen, defense team is so disrespectful, and the jury, justice for all victims. Now let me talk about the jury, all right?
Ooh.
I'm still not saying Mia's name, but her picture was thing. Listen,
ooh,
there's
Ray
a million.
J.
I do think it's funny. Maybe the defense didn't do it on purpose. I do think it's funny that That happened. And then I heard this morning somebody published her full name and her full picture on their socials. Again, I'm not going to make the calls other bloggers
What's his name?
make, or even other news organizations. I just don't understand what was supposed to be the point. And with the defense,
Didn't he do that?
I don't know.
Ask him,
But you know what? Let's move on, because again, there was a
what is this man's name,
Who was
y'all?
the surprise witness? I'll tell you who the surprise witness was. Andy Garcia. Okay, Mr. Garcia is set to testify first thing in the morning. He was supposed to testify today, but nobody knew that Brian Still was going to have a 10, 11, 12.
Ashton Martin or something. What was that? Groovy, man.
I will say one thing.
Ain't that him?
Did a really, really good job of rehabilitating Mia. Was it enough? I don't think so. But they did a good job, okay? Brian Still literally overreached, because again, he was dragging it after a while. And he overreached and tried to say that basically it was the imagination how Cassie was beaten. I will say there seems to be some very pro-Diddy jurors on that juror thing. The jurors are not supposed to talk to each other.
Mike Myers. Okay. Thank you, Julie.
Okay? I saw jurors passing each other.
I'm gonna tap into that
They
next.
were asking, did you get the double cheeseburger? Y'all want to eat Burger King? Y'all want to get Pizza Hut for lunch? Maybe that's what they were asking, right? They were holding notebooks in front of their faces and talking like this because they didn't want anybody to hear what they were saying. When was this done? This was done whenever they had a sidebar, and there were a lot of sidebars because Maureen Comey had had enough and told the defense, you're gonna stop humiliating. What you're doing to this victim is disgusting, and it shows no purpose. Annette Norwood said, love your content, Tisa, and now my brother has become a fan of yours because I told him how great your content is. I know that's right. Shout out to the Norwood family. Thank y'all so much. But again, what ended up happening with that, okay? The defense literally pummel. Andy Garcia seems to be someone that is going to provide a lot of information. I've been trying to Google Diddy's tea, calling around. By the time I do my final Diddy live tonight, probably around 7:30, I'm going to have the tea on Andy Garcia, and I'm going to find out who that man is, right? And why his testimony was so important that the feds
find out
actually gave
before then,
permission.
baby.
They also had a hotel witness in there, right? Now, here's the thing, right? Let's get into how they think. So Brian Still literally had this bizarre line of questioning that was so disrespectful to victims. And if you don't understand that this is the way victims of DV behave, then I pray to God you and no one you know, man, woman, child, ever becomes a victim of abuse. Okay? I'm glad everybody is here walking around like Susie and Tommy Badass, and I hope that you never have to get into that situation. But for those that know that life literally is a key of sliding doors, and all it takes is one person to catch you on the wrong day. Maybe your dog just died. I was talking to Darla from ABC. Maybe your dog just died. Maybe you just broke up the love of your life. Maybe the one day you just feel worthless and somebody slides in and gets into your head, and then it descends into madness. I'm just saying, right? I'm just saying. Ellie Berry said, thank you, Tisa, for your energy and tenacity. Sending love from the UK. We love you. Thank you. Oh, Charlotte Jolie said, Tisa, nobody does it better. Nobody. Okay, so listen, right? Let me just get into this, right? No, listen. I'm the first one to line them out. There's not just one. I counted 1, 2, 3. There's 6 going on 7 people that are very pro-Diddy juror. Why do I think that? Because as soon as the prosecution gave them anything, they grabbed on it. And then the next thing you know, when Mia was talking, they wasn't taking notes. At one time, when the prosecution came back on to rehabilitate Mia, that's when it's like, oh, let's answer these questions so you still look knowledgeable and certified. He literally smirked and was looking like, oh my God, and rolling his eyes. Ellen DK said, so who's telling on the jury? Is the judge blind? Here's the thing when the jury does this stuff. There's a bunch of sidebars. When there's sidebars, and all the prosecution and the defense and the judge go in the corner and they put it on the sound machine, that's when the jury starts cutting out. Again, I talked to many people in the courtroom. They said that the jurors are not supposed to be talking among themselves for any reason. Key to Metzi, thank you so much for the super chat. Anyway, right? Brian Still started off with a grossing thing. He was like, oh, so Cassie's like your sister, huh? Right? You loved her, huh? And she was like, yes, absolutely. And I was like, Mia, can you stop? This man been hammering you Now, Mia did come out later and say that she has the fear of public speaking. Baby, you have the fear of public thinking, and I believe Mia's story. But this man was hammering you. You should know by now when he's leading you into a trap. Stop, drop, and roll away. I would have been sitting there like, yeah, maybe. I don't know. What do you think, Brian? I would have given him that.
Today we're starting to see the whole.
Judge Aaron isn't impressed. The prosecution isn't impressed. Again, this is all for social media. I know that mess worked with Young Thug because it was Fulton County, and all their nonsense. However, when it came to this, hey, what's up? Mel, come say hi. RB said, thank you, Tisa. Keep us updated. Love you, girl. Listen, we got Mel watching the new, hold on, Miss Al said, would you consider moving to New York live? The Tisa Tells All show. Listen, look what we got here. Y'all know this favorite. He'd be making his rounds all over YouTube. Mel, how you doing? First of all, give them your socials and ask some questions about what happened in the trial. Just want to get your quick opinion.
All right, Watching the World 777. Thank you guys for having me on.
Okay.
Put my book back down. Somewhere.
Okay. You put your that down because I want your opinion. Again, we don't have to agree. We just have to be respectful, right? But I want your opinion. What do you actually think about what Brian still did with Mia? How did that play out to you?
I think he discredited her whole story. He did a good
He
job.
discredited her story.
But I still think that she took the biggest hit out of all the witnesses. But the problem is Capricorn stood.
Capricorn stood.
So
Okay.
the problem is, you take an average guy like myself or some of the guys in the courthouse, one day of these charges could send you away for a long time. That's a real problem. And every day we're hearing these new charges, and now the government is in a place where they're pulling up hotel records, and they get into American Express. They already told us that on Friday they have the sex workers that were involved on the day of the actual beating that we saw on CNN, that he's on the metadata of the camera in the hotel. He's also on Cassie's text messages. They also, as we saw today, we're starting to see the hotel records. We're seeing the credit card records. This is a big problem. And while everybody else has their own opinions, like for instance, okay, it came out in court for the burglary.
Okay.
For Kid Cudi. It was actually labeled on the.
Okay, so she is who I said she was.
Trespass, not a burglary. But still, the way the narrative came together,
yeah,
they pretty much put Diddy on the spot. So this case is a problem, and every day they're slow cooking. I do think that there are some jury members that could swing, but I think ultimately the government they have an overwhelming amount of evidence here. It's going to be a problem.
I agree with that. One more question before you go. When you say that you think that they did a good job completely discrediting Mia, right? Explain why you think that is. Like how they ripped her apart.
You know what? It wasn't even them. It was Mia herself. You know, on Thursday, she had her head down all day. And today, the prosecutors, they tried to use, hey, Mia, why do you keep your head down when you're talking about what Diddy did to you? Oh, my God, he did me so, whatever, right? I was terrified. But the problem was, she gave this testimony all day Thursday, and I'm sitting there all day, Tisa's there all day. We're like one of the two that's always in the courtroom. The next day, when they went through her text messages and all of that stuff, she went into this whole new person, whole new persona, D-Rock, and, she says, they had her read a text message from Diddy. I love you, Diddy. Like, when she said that, I was done with her. This is not the female that, now I'm not saying she wasn't abused.
No, tell me what.
I really can't say that. I don't know. But I'm just telling you, when I see two different personalities going on, it just made me uncomfortable. And then Brian still did like a stellar job. And really, he was a technician, and he broke her down one step by step. Mm-hmm. Now, does it affect the overall case? I don't think so, because every day the government is laying it out. It's a big problem. So.
Yeah.
All right?
Yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah.
Make sure y'all follow Mel.
World 777 on YouTube and TikTok, all right?
We are going to collab. He is Mr. Busy, but when he gets time, we're going to have it on your channel for you to break things
I
down.
always got time for the Tisa crew. They come over and they say, hey, when you come over, say you're from Tisa, and I'll give you a cup of coffee.
All right. Thank you, Mel. I'll see you tomorrow.
One last thing.
What's up?
For all the men, don't abuse women and children. Don't abuse anybody. That's the new message. Right?
Thank you. And y'all see why I rock with Mel. At the end of the day, there's so many people making excuses. Oh, Diddy did this, Cassie was this. Mel said it. For all the men and women who want to be, but it's more men, that want to be abusers, the gig is up. You cannot keep doing that. That old rock star lifestyle, the blow, the hose, it's over. All right? You're going to have
That's right. Bros before hoes, Tisa.
You are going to have to face the consequences.
Y'all, she must visit us over here like we visit her. Bros before hoes is a no.
Let me tell you what's in the courtroom. What does discredited mean? It doesn't mean that I think me is lying.
Bros before house is a no.
I know she's being honest.
Shout out to the tea sippers.
I know she's 100% honest. Discredited is when you lose the jury. Discredited is when the jury doesn't believe you anymore. That jury didn't only need one, and there was at least 7 of them that looked like they didn't buy anything Mia was selling by the end of it. So again, remember I said, y'all, I'll be honest with y'all, everything's not always gonna be, yeah, rah, rah, our team's winning. No, we took a hit. Brian still was out there dribbling, running, I don't even know sports. But you know, he basically scored a goal. Okay? My whole point of the matter is Mia was discredited in the eyes of the jury. Deshelle said, I think the defense knows that black women are skeptical of white women tears and played into this. Let me tell you something. Brian Steele is very, very savvy. And they have experts that know how to read the jury. And Brian Steele is playing the jury like a fiddle. Cody Code 39 said, okay, you know what? Cody Code 39 said, hey, for clarity, since the defense has the attention of the jury, will this change the outcome? You mentioned there are things the jury will be given to prove the charges. I hope this makes sense. Okay, so for clarity, since the defense has the attention of the jury, will this change the outcome? Hear me out. True to what Mel said, the defense, right? True to what Mel said, the defense does have the jury's attention right now. However, okay, Steph to the kitchen with Margie J, thank you so much. However, Capricorn Clark's testimony, strong. Cassie, strong. Kit Cudi, strong. Carrie, strong. The personal assistant, strong. Head of security, strong. Hotel manager, strong. Other security, strong.
Facts.
You see what I'm saying?
Facts.
Other personal assistant, strong. Devani 702 said Mel left his tripod behind her. I don't think that's not Mel's tripod. That was already there. My whole point of the mess already there. Y'all not gonna get me with Ebola virus. Anyway, right? Thank you, Devani. The whole point of the matter is there are so many people that came in so strong. That Mia was discredited, and I don't even think Mia has a civil case. But again, discredit doesn't mean you're lying. It means you lost the jury. Mia lost the jury. I gotta be honest with you.
Hold on. Hold on. I don't think she fully lost the jury. She lost the jury on all of that in fear for my life or out threatening and the SA part of it. But the overwork, the forced work is what she really was used for. Y'all understand? She really wasn't, because if that's the case, then what happened to her when they kind of brought up her passport being held, and if she is the one who some things happened to her and he gave his boys the okay to have their way, they would have brought that up, and they haven't. Hers is the forced labor. And she's proved that. It's all that other extra stuff that she came out in all humped over, meek and mild. Please don't let people know who I am. You set yourself up for that. You really did. Hey, Scott. But as far as the forced labor, which would be one of the 8 in the racketeering, that's still there. She came in working 24 hours. She didn't get no rest for 5 days. So she lost them on all that other stuff. I don't know why. Yeah, that's what Stockholm syndrome or whatever that is. Yeah. He wouldn't have got an I love you out of me. But hey, so let's just be clear. What they really put her on the stand for, she didn't lose nobody on that. And it is the forced work. Okay? Don't lose sight of the facts.
Is she a survivor? Does everything make sense? But Brian was able to present it so that, in my opinion, it appealed to the haters, right? Yes, it appealed to the haters. Okay, listen. Somebody says a planted tripod NYPD. You want to catch the thief? Not today. Wanda Young said Mia won't break or make that case. Too many witnesses. Now let's talk about that with the juror instructions, because a lot of people think that the jurors can just go back there and just play on vibes. No lie, I think some of the jurors think they can go back there and play on vibes. But when you have jury instructions, I'm going to show sample jury instructions on my live later on tonight. We are breaking this all the way down. Not only do you have to go in there, but the judge tells you this is what blank looks like. This is the charge. This is what it looks like. Did you see any evidence that fit this criteria? If you saw the evidence that fit this criteria,
they need to down and dismiss whoever that is, right? Now.
Cody, Code 39 said, gotcha, thanks for the clarity. Thank you. And Sal,
somebody got it, one of the witnesses got exposed with having a bracelet on saying not guilty.
We all talked about DV, but does everybody realize that DV is a underline? You need DV for sex trafficking. That is the force. You need coercion, you need fraud, and you need DV or some type of violence. The fact that
you need assault. Domestic means that family or husband, wife, boyfriend, girlfriend, brother, sister. Domestic. I don't think that means employees, co-workers. I don't think that falls up under DV. That is assault. Okay. So yeah, you need assault, you need force, you need battery, you need some physical stuff, but you don't necessarily, to me, need DV to prove trafficking, human trafficking. You need force, and that force is either by an instrument, a fist. You know, it was somebody, that guy that was with in Memphis with Quet, that he snitched on with the dog stuff. Hernandez Govan, he testified against the guy, his partner that he was pimping with. What's his T-Rex? Y'all, bro? So, yeah, him. He used chains. He beat that ass with chains. See, yeah. So that's assault with a deadly weapon. That's how I look at that. So I just want us to be able to say, let's put the DV to the side with Cassie. Other than the day he ran out that hotel room and it's on film. We still have enough evidence with the assault on other people. Right? when the people jumped on his back because he was beating her because she had moved on. Because at that point, at the point that she had moved on, that wasn't domestic anymore. They had broke up, right? So why did he still feel entitled? He had Gina, Young Miami, you know, they was beefing. They was going at each other. He had moved on, so he said. So she was with Kid Cudi, what? So to me, once we done broke up, and I'm with somebody else, and he with 2 or 3, 4 other people, and I don't care nothing about that, that ain't domestic. That's assault with a deadly weapon. So in other words, leave me alone, cause them the type of charges it's not domestic. Which one carries the most weight? Which one y'all gonna take serious? Assault with a deadly weapon? That's what it is.
Okay. When it's actually part of something, it is weird. Now let me just say this too, right? If anybody wants to see the coercion and the RICO broken down and connecting each person's witness to how it proves it, so they can start seeing, I don't see any RICO because no one's showing it to you, baby.
Oh yes, they in denial.
Breaks down the RICO, breaks down the coercion, but lines it up with all the witnesses. And I don't want to brag, but I am one of the only content creators outside of Mel that every single day we've been in the main courtroom since it started looking at what's going on. Now, no shit to the overflow room, but you gotta be there to see how things land and to see how it affects the jury. Because it doesn't matter what you think in the overflow room. What is the jury thinking? What is the jury feeling? Are they feeling you? That's what it is, right? Karina Michelle said the strong testimony upholds Mia. I gotta be honest with you, I do not believe that all that other testimony upholds Mia's testimony. I think the most the prosecution can hope for is that people forget about Mia's testimony, and doesn't try to pull it up to show that Diddy might be talking the truth. I'm not gonna lie to you. He did a good job of discrediting her, which means the jury looks at you as not a credible witness, all right? The jury was looking at Mia like she was making stuff up and she was lying. However, there are a million other people, you know? AunTeaFee, thank you so much for the super chat. However, I will say this, right? When it comes to Mia, and this is important to know, Mia literally, right? Mia literally.
Okay, let's clear this up.
Went too far towards me.
Let's clear this up. Let's clear this up right now. So y'all won't think AunTeaFee is just being crazy. Okay, domestic violence and aggravated assault are both serious crimes. They are differ in their scope and the relationship between the offender and the victim. Domestic violence is an umbrella term encompassing various acts of physical, sexual, psychological, and economic abuse within a domestic relationship, like a spouse, intimate partner, or household member. Don't have nothing to do with workers, okay? It says aggravated assault, on the other hand, specifically refers to an assault that is more severe, involving serious bodily injury or in use of a deadly weapon. So outside of the family, family, spouse, in your household, that's DV. Work is domestic assault, baby. Okay, let's be clear.
Yeah. I think let's get into how he went too far.
And so
right?
them as workers, that's domestic assault. I mean, aggravated assault.
Cassie, well, this is Brian. Hold on, let me move around.
Jumping on their back, throwing them down, putting your hand around their throat, all of that.
This is Brian.
That's assault. With a deadly weapon.
And he would take his pen and put it with it. Ma'am, you testified that Cassie was like your sister. And the thing is, right, when he did that, I was like, Mia, you start giving this man yes or no. One, did the judge follow proper procedure? Okay? Did he follow proper procedure? Okay? If the answer is yes, F out of here. You ain't getting that appeal. And the answer is no. You're still not guaranteed that appeal because there's one more thing you must ask. Okay, so the judge didn't follow proper procedure. However, was that procedural error, omission, or mistake on about the appeal? Brian still has been threatening an appeal for the court the whole time.
That just means he's not confident in the case.
Will appeal. And that's what Diddy is paying them for, to literally just bother the court. Let those people get a few more of Diddy's money. He ain't getting an appeal because here's the thing about an appeal. The jury decides what is fact, right? Like, is my name Tisa? Is my name Mona Lisa? Did I eat the cookies or did I not eat the cookies? Once the jury decides what is true with this fact, the judge applies the law. And when the judge applies the law, right?
But Diddy think he is above all of that.
Law that's supporting it, right? And then we'll apply, and then once we apply the law, now it's time for sentencing based off of severity. When you go for appeal, a lot of people don't realize that you're not arguing whether or not the facts all over again. Sorry, let's put my thing down. You're not arguing the facts over again. That's already been decided by the jury. The appellate board, which I think is like 3 to 5 people, they don't want to hear all that. The jury already decided it. Our only thing in appeal is to make sure the judge followed 2 things. 1, did the judge follow proper procedure? Okay? Did he follow proper procedure? Okay? If the answer is yes, F out of here. You ain't getting that appeal. If the answer is no, you're still not guaranteed that appeal because there's one more thing you must ask. Okay, so the judge didn't follow proper procedure.
Okay,
However,
Tia, come on,
was that
baby girl.
procedural error, omission, or mistake so egregious that had that error not happened, your client would have been found not guilty? It's a high burden to reach. You can literally have someone that says, yo, you can really have somebody that's just like, yo, this was, like, you should have done that. You should have admitted evidence. You should have let this thing go. I should have been able to go.
Y'all please get the likes
but
up.
You must then prove that that mistake cost you the trial. And that second part is super, super high. So let Diddy keep dreaming. Like, get out of here. And also the one thing everybody keeps talking about, the defense appealing. Do you know who really likes to appeal? The Southern District of New York. You know who's really been like being overly bending to the will of defense? The Southern District of New York. And you know how that if they don't get the conviction they want with Diddy, you know who's going to appeal? That's right, boys and girls. The Southern District of New York, okay? So anyway, so Brian Steele, it's like, Cassie was like your sister, right? Oh, absolutely. Mia, shut up. Do you know this man has been literally Thursday, Friday, dragged you up and down. You had the whole weekend to go home and think about her. I went there and just got mad.
I need to hear about the day.
It was messed up. You wanted her to stay in the relationship with Diddy because it was easier for everybody to keep the job. But at the same time, you literally remember what I just said. What's your name again? What am I doing here? Jesus, is that you? I would have just acted completely dumb and oblivious, right? Like, you want to sit here and try to humiliate me, baby? You're going to have to work for every answer, even a yes or no. She said, do you remember in March 2016? All right? I said, okay, March 2016. Taming Brian Steele's dumbness. Mia! Brian, right? But in a classy, elegant thing, saying, I don't know.
I want to get today, Andy.
At the end of the day, I think the jurors were being ignorant on free. It wasn't all of them, it was some of them. And I'm not going to lie, Brian Steele, Xavier, really would have had Mia on some on RICO and ST. I completely agree.
Okay, so she's stuck on Mia too long for me.
Right?
Is she?
On this hill. This
Hold
is
on.
my Roman Empire. I'm sick of the way
Hold on.
people rewrite the narrative between Diddy and Kim. Yes, Kim was Diddy's breeder. Yes, he had kids with a dark-skinned woman. But when it came to who showed up on the red carpet, to the Hollywood events, when it came...
I want to get past this. I'm sorry. Hold on. I want to get past that because there's so much more going on. Celebrity name drop. Is that where I saw that at? Is that where I saw that at? Where did I see that at? I want to get here. Yeah, hold on. That's what I want to get to. The celebrity name drop, and then I'm going to get to the attorney. Hold on. Who is Diddy's best friend? Is that news? What? Here we go. Is this it? Yeah.
Get paid to be real. Apply for InFocus.
I didn't know what took this going in.
I'm sick of
and
Mia.
What a pleasant experience it was.
Week 4 of explosive testimony in the Sean Diddy Combs sex crimes trial. So far, some of the celebrity name dropping includes Whitney Houston, Mike Myers, Mariah Carey, even rapper 50 Cent. Back on the stand for a third day today is Diddy's former personal assistant, who's accused the hip-hop mogul of sexual assault and also forced labor, a claim crucial for the prosecution's racketeering conspiracy case. Combs has pleaded not guilty to all federal charges, including sex trafficking. News Nation's Marcus Espinosa joins us live outside the federal courthouse in Manhattan with what is happening inside the courtroom right now. Marcus.
Hey, Brooke, good afternoon. Yeah, so the testimony, the cross there by the defense has just wrapped up for Mia. She's using that pseudonym, not identifying herself officially there, but they are now in redirect. So this has been a very big day, third day of her prosecution here. And you mentioned it, you laid it out there, why this is so critical for the prosecution. But the defense still has been very, very aggressive in trying to poke holes in her testimony, showing pictures and social media posts showing her enjoying her years working for Combs. Mia has claimed these posts only detail the highs of the job, not the lows that she has kept under wraps. Still has continued that aggressive line of questioning today. Again, they just wrapped up. He had shown more loving text between Mia and Combs, one where she reached out after Combs' ex, Kim Porter, passed away, another wishing him a happy birthday right before Cassie Ventura's lawsuit was made public, and even one where Mia texted Combs she had a dream R. Kelly was chasing her and Combs rescued her. The judge sustained Steele's questions there, asking why she would dream of her abuser as her, quote, savior. Mia has chalked up a lot of her seemingly nice text and post to being, quote, brainwashed in an environment that did not bat an eye to those things that Combs did. She said she's just now untangling this web of abuse and internalized shame in therapy. It's the reason she says she has not come forward until just recently. The jury was also shown a video Mia made for Combs' 44th birthday. In it, she thanks Combs for being one of the biggest inspirations in my life, even adding, I love you, happy birthday, and blowing a kiss. The defense's argument is that Mia is presenting a false persona to the jury, and this video, along with a scrapbook they had the jury thumb through last week, is playing into that argument. Now, Mia revealed Combs would steal her and Cassie's phones and put a tracking device on Cassie's car, but she testified she would keep the mogul's whereabouts a secret from Ventura and felt bad about it. When asked if she ever told Ventura to leave Combs, Mia said, quote, not in the way I wish I could have. The prosecution's called out Steele for that aggressive line of questioning. Brooke, they even talked about it briefly. The judge reminding that attorney to keep in mind the way in which these questions are being asked. But the defense today was extremely aggressive and direct in that, in questioning Mia there on the stand. And again, they just wrapped up. They are now currently in redirect.
You have to wonder how the jury is processing that cross-examination. Marcus, as we're hearing a lot of this bombshell testimony, we're also hearing a lot of celebrity names being dropped in some of this testimony. Who have we heard so far?
Yeah, you mentioned a few off the top there. You talk about Mike Myers as well as other celebrities there. We've, of course, heard from Kid Cudi, who detailed and testified himself, but plenty of
what does Mike Myers got to do
being
with it?
dropped here, from Jay-Z to Kanye West to Britney Spears. Again, Sean Combs was known for throwing these lavish parties in New York and LA and was a mogul in the business world with Sean John Clothing and Ciroc, as well as other brands. So it's no surprise that high-profile names are being brought up here in court. Notably, again, Kid Cudi, who testified testified that Combs allegedly tried to blow up his car with a Molotov cocktail. He also briefly dated Cassie while she was still with her.
I just set up a poll.
Celebrity names. You may hear more celebrity names as this goes on here in this trial over the next several weeks here. We're 4 weeks in. Some say this is expected to last about 8 weeks, so perhaps we're halfway there.
All right, still a long way to go.
Halfway there.
Espinosa in New
Have
York.
they already proved
Thank you
it?
for watching. Subscribe below and download our News Nation app
Have
right
they
now on your
already
phone.
proved it,
You
y'all?
will get fact-based, unbiased news for all Americans.
Have they already proved it? Do y'all think they've already proved it?
Another bombshell in the Sean Diddy Combs trial as a new alleged victim took the stand, backing up Cassie Ventura's claims and making some new ones of her own. This former assistant broke down on the stand, claiming she was sexually abused.
I believe they proved it, but they haven't exposed it yet. Oh, yes, they have. Okay.
I'm Kennedy Walker, and you're watching Law and Crime.
Okay.
This courtroom sketch shows the woman who arguably delivered some of the most harrowing testimony yet in the federal trial against Sean Combs. Her face is intentionally left blank.
I think majority of it was proven to me with Capricorn.
The jurors know her real name.
Clark.
To the public, she's known as Mia. Mia worked as Combs' personal assistant for 8 years.
Right
On the
now
stand, she gave a
with
detailed
how many
account of
votes?
what she
Oh
says
no, we don't
happened
have
behind
no.
the scenes.
Come on, y'all, let's get our
She told
votes
the jury
in.
She lived in fear, saying she didn't feel safe telling Diddy no. Mia backed up Cassie Ventura's claims of abuse, testifying, quote, "I've seen him attack her. I've seen him throw her on the ground. I've seen him crack her head open." She recalled one violent episode where she feared for Cassie's life, saying, quote, "I just saw him pick her up, and I thought he is actually going to kill her. He slammed her
That
head
whole
into
movie
the corner of
about
the bed."
Dr. Evil.
But the most emotional part of Mia's testimony was what she says Combs did to her. She claimed the abuse began just months after she was hired. It was Combs' 40th birthday party in New York. She told the court he handed her 2 shots that, in her words, hit her hard. Then she said he kissed her and put his hand up her dress. Mia described another incident, this time inside Diddy's Los Angeles mansion. She told jurors that house rules forbade her from locking her bedroom door. Diddy, she claimed, would often say, quote, "This is my house. No one locks my doors." One night, she said she woke up to find him on top of her and alleged that he raped her. She said she couldn't
The
say no to
sex
him
workers
because
are
no
one
meant
for me.
risking
Sex
everything.
workers.
Testifying, quote, "I couldn't tell him no about a sandwich. I couldn't tell him no about
Workforce.
anything."
Forced
The
work.
prosecution asked, "What were you afraid would happen if you told Mr. Combs no with regard to sex?" Mia responded that he would fire me and ruin my future, and somehow
That
twist the
assistant
story
guy
to
who
make
said
me
that he
look
bought
incorrect.
drugs.
In another alleged incident, she said Diddy
Let me
forcibly
see.
slammed her arm into a door after she chased him down
Forced
to take
labor.
her phone. When she found him later, Mia testified that he said,
So
"I
he
sent all of your
purchased,
compromising and inappropriate
drugs
photos
for
to my
his
phone,
boss.
just in case you ever have something on me." Mia's testimony echoed Cassie's, who also accused Diddy of years of abuse. 2 women,
So that's drug
2 nearly
trafficking.
identical stories. Both say they were sexually assaulted by Sean Combs. Both described a man who was allegedly violent and controlling. And both took the stand in his federal trial.
In the
Mia
kidnapping.
testified that Diddy, quote, "treated me like I was a
Kidnapping.
worthless piece of crap." She said
When
she
she
was
didn't wanna go to
constantly
Kid
cursed out,
Cudi's.
humiliated, and berated. Cassie told the jury she felt humiliated and disgusting. When asked why she didn't come forward, Mia told prosecutors, quote, "I was going to die with this. I
Arson.
didn't want anyone to know, ever." 2 women speaking up. 2 voices, once silenced, now heard in the same courtroom. And joining me to talk more about this is former
So
deputy
right, just
defender
quickly
Philip
thinking,
Dubé. Philip,
1,
thank you so
2,
much for coming
3,
on today.
4, 5, and all they need is 2.
So let's just dive right in.
I'm sick
How
of Diddy,
important is
Cassie,
Mia's
and Mia.
She's a linchpin.
Did you hear? Okay, I talk about integrity. Let me pause for a cause, a pressure. Are you just now getting in here, or have you been in here? I mean, because if you've been in here, then you heard what I said about you. Please tell me you heard me and I don't have to repeat it. Pressure, are you just now coming in, or do I need to repeat what I just now getting in here? You wait till it's almost 400 people in here, and I have to tell you, I listen, I agree with you. Although she is the victim, she is weak. I hate to say you was right. She is weak. Okay? So I was wrong in saying she wasn't. Yes, she is. She's still a victim now. But you were right. She is a weak victim. Ta-da! Out of my mouth, she's weak. She don't even know when to play dumb. She don't even know when to be quiet. Girl, just hush and say and stick to ask my therapist. Don't ask me why. I don't know. I don't know why. She couldn't even stick to I don't know why, because you don't know why. You don't know why you stayed in there so long. You don't. So why this man is beating you in a legal way, where Diddy beat you and manipulated you that way, he doing the same thing in a legal way, and you still falling for the banana in the damn tailpipe. Just shut up and say, I don't know. That's why I'm in therapy now, because I don't know why I tolerated it. I don't know why. I was just so caught up in it that I was sending these I love you messages to the person who ate me. Now, I will say my therapist say it happens a lot. See, I done went there. I done went to what my therapist said. But she trying to answer it. And then she got caught and hemmed up on the ropes. And he beat her up, just in a different way. Hush, Pressure. But let's just be clear. They still, even if they think that she dumb, even if, let's just say we X out everything that she's saying, they only had her up there for one reason. And that was supposed to be the forced labor for her working, even if we're gonna go her first day, her first 5 days, she was overworked, and she worked and wasn't paid for it. Forced work. Now all the other stuff that you was laying on that you couldn't explain, and you couldn't just say, that's why I'm in therapy. That's why I'm in therapy. I don't know. Brainwashed. Yeah. I guess because I was brainwashed. I guess because I was brainwashed. I guess because I was brainwashed is what my therapist is telling me. Hell, she couldn't even do that. She couldn't do that. Everything I would have said is because I was brainwashed. I guess I was lost in the sauce. I don't know. I guess I was brainwashed. That's why I'm in therapy. I'm just now realizing how lost in the sauce I was. I thought I was stronger than that, but I'm not. I'm weak. That's where I would have went, and that would have been truthful. But anyway, Pressure, I agree, she weak. Cause you ain't gonna tell me I don't have no integrity.
Which is the Racketeering, Influence, Organized Corruption, etc. Act. And they basically have to show a pattern of predicate.
Oh my goodness.
So the one-off, the isolated incidents won't bring it to that level of it being a racket, if you will, under federal law to get Diddy. So they have to basically show a pattern. And a lot of people don't know this, and even a lot of attorneys and judges.
She felt humiliated and disgusting. He forcibly slammed her arm into a door after she chased him down for taking her phone. When she found him later, Mia testified that he said, I sent all of your compromising and inappropriate photos to my phone just in case you ever have something on me. Mia's testimony echoed Cassie's, who also accused Diddy of years of abuse. Two women, two nearly identical
What type of work is this?
Both say they were sexually assaulted by Sean Combs. Both described a man who was allegedly violent and controlling. And both took the stand in his federal trial. Mia testified that Diddy, quote, treated me like I was a worthless piece of crap. She said she was constantly
He didn't treat you like that was your job. I mean, like you was at work.
She felt humiliated and disgusting. When asked why she didn't come forward, Mia told prosecutors, quote, I was going to die with this. I didn't want anyone to know, ever. Two women speaking up. Two voices, one silenced, now heard in the same courtroom. And joining me to talk more about this is former Deputy Public Defender Philip Dubé. Philip, thank you so much for coming on today.
Bless you for having me.
So let's just dive right in. How important is Mia's testimony in this trial?
Oh, are you kidding? She's a linchpin, or at least one of them. Because remember, he is charged with...
He caught a what?
Which is the Racketeering, Influence, Organized Corruption, etc. Act. And they basically have to show a pattern of predicate criminal activity. So the one-off, the isolated incidents won't...
This is about the second attorney I heard that said that she still was...
So they have to basically show a pattern. And a lot of people don't know this, and even a lot of attorneys and judges, but the definition of a racket is where you commit a crime more than once. So in theory, if you commit a crime twice, you're a racketeer. It's kind of hard to believe, but normally you associate it with repeated, ongoing criminality under the umbrella of some type of an enterprise. So what these two women are doing between Cassie and Mia is showing that this is not just a one-off. This is not an isolated incident. These incidents now are starting to stack, which makes it starting to look like the ordinary course of the business.
With Lucid, agile teams don't have to start from square one.
Okay, that makes sense.
For the hybrid
look like the ordinary course of the business. And I'm telling you, right now, it's not looking good for Diddy.
So let's just talk more about that with, Mia's specific testimony. How is that proving RICO or sex trafficking? The alleged sexual assault, or is it, the
Oh, Joseph, I agree.
physical violence?
I believe him when he said people disappear. Oh, I believe that.
At his company, like from what she's saying, how does it prove it?
Well, in a civil context, she could just file a sexual harassment lawsuit or go out on workers' comp, and that would be easy to settle. I mean, I know plenty of attorneys out there who would be salivating over those types of lawsuits, and they would try to get in on the payday. But criminally, I got to tell you, the government's a little handcuffed because the stateside local prosecutors in the DA's office never filed charges. And all of those crimes are time barred because they go back so many years. I mean, these young ladies started getting beaten, back in 2010, 2011. Domestic violence alone has a 4-year statute of limitations in California. And even if you try to get him on a, let's say, a pimping and pandering theory, I think it's an 8-year statute. So those crimes are long gone. You can't get them. So what do? You go federally. And federally, if you can show, and basically 2 or more incidents of these predicate acts, be it assault, be it rape, be it arson, brandishing a firearm in somebody's face, these types of criminal threats and wielding weapons, that's how you build a case. But standing alone, if all you have is just isolated acts of violence, what this pattern tends to show with weapons and all types of veiled threats is that it was accomplished by force, fraud, or coercion. The force, fraud, or coercion is an element of the RICO statute. Absent that, the jury cannot convict.
So we can say, okay, we need 2 or more predicate acts. So that could, essentially be Cassie Ventura's testimony when she went on the stand and said that Diddy allegedly raped her, Diddy allegedly hit her. And then now we have Mia's testimony essentially saying the exact same thing, that Mr. Combs allegedly sexually assaulted her, hit her, and the force and coercion, all of those things. We just proved RICO right there, essentially, is what you're saying.
Right. I mean, if all you had was just Cassie standing alone, basically what Diddy, and I would defend him on it. I absolutely would. I'd go to New York pro bono because I think it would be improperly charged under the RICO statute. Really what he is then on that fact pattern is a domestic batterer. And certainly not trying to trivialize it, but there's a separate body of law to get him under. You get him for spousal battery or domestic violence or just ordinary assault and battery. But because everybody sat on the clock and let the time tick away, they can't get him stateside. So you have to go federal. So now what do? You show that it's not just one victim within the
heart chakra
orbit. You start bringing in other people like personal assistants, other employees, maybe vendors of the Combs enterprise, people who are performing services for the enterprise, the plumber, the electrician, the hairdresser, the makeup artist. When you start bringing in, looping in all these people who are saying these people are getting beaten, they're getting pistol whipped, they're getting threatened, their livelihood is on the line, then it really starts to look like a criminal racket. And now what we're starting to see is it going from the infancy stage into it ripening into a true racket. And I'm sure right now, Diddy is shaking in his boots because the man is looking at life and convicted.
Right. And so we just talked about Cassie and Mia having similar testimonies with
You're welcome.
Sexual assault. Also with physical assault, we know that
did you vote on the poll?
That Diddy physically hit him, allegedly.
Oh, they said his was helpful too. Let me hear what he said.
She was physically hit. Cassie said she was physically hit. All of this alleged. So now it's like you could break that down for each thing could be like that, right?
Yeah, and you know what's even scarier, Kennedy, and a lot of people don't know this, and this is actually kind of terrifying. The prosecution does not have to prove each predicate act beyond a reasonable doubt. So the jury doesn't get a special verdict form while deliberating as to whether or not they find the sexual assaults true, the threats true, the coercion true. They don't have to find any of that true. All they have to find is that, I guess, under the totality of the circumstances, predicate acts have been proven. That's it. And you don't even have to have unanimity on them. So if you just throw a bunch of predicate acts at the jury sort of in a vacuum and not even necessarily in isolation, but where they can kind of look at it all in combination, the jury can come back with a guilty. It's pretty frightening. And the prosecution is not bound by the statute of limitations for each predicate act. So remember, under state law, the DV
but they can't approve reasonable doubt on all 8 counts.
You've got to get to the courthouse within 4 years of the crime, or that charge is time barred.
They can't prove it on all 8.
They can claw back decades. They can claw back 10 years outside the state statute of limitations and lump it in as a predicate act as long as the RICO itself is filed on time. So it's pretty scary how far back prosecutors can go. It's almost as if you have to watch your back from adolescence all the way to death.
Okay, let's do this real quick. Out of the 8, the feds, the prosecuting attorney, prosecutors only have to prove 2 of the 8. And you're saying that the defense only has to show reasonable doubt. Okay? Let me get, wow, I didn't know they can go back 10 years. Feds? I voted on the poll. Thank you, Pandora. You're so very welcome. Okay. So let's go with, 8, right? They only have to prove 2 of the 8. In Pressure, you're saying all the defense has to do is reasonable doubt. Okay? 1, the paid XXX with the workers. Can I say prostitute? The male prostitutes. That's 1. Ain't no what doubt when you got them on there. Even the one who said that I started out a stripper. They booked me to be a stripper. I got there you know, expecting a party, wasn't nobody there but them two, right? And it went from dancing for them to having sex for money. That's one. They already had the other guy who talked about it up front. You can't find reasonable doubt in that, because it's a whole slew of them. And they both admit that they, Cassie called them, hired them for their service repeatedly. Prostitution, that's one. The second one, I just had it, that you cannot forced work, forced labor. Forced labor. And that's without the arson. That's without Capricorn Clark saying, I ain't even brought up any type of assault or DV. And I can still give you 2. I can give you more, but I want to get back over there. So those 2 right there, there is no way, ain't no reasonable doubt in there. That happened. Because he settled. And all that when she won, it was for back wages, for overtime that was never paid, hours that was never paid. So there was forced work. Not only just with the one who settled, Capricorn Clark as well. All they need is 2. And those are 2 right off the bat, without even thinking hard. Not even trying to pick out the part where they proved it. That's 2 right there that they can't get around. Ain't no doubt in that. That happened. whether they liked it or not. You know, that one, that Punisher said, well, I think she enjoyed it. Hell, nigga, that's because you thought she liked you. You thought you was special. So right off the bat, we know your thinking is lopsided. All you saw was somebody pretty who chose you and called you back. Boo, you was hooked. You was brainwashed just like she was brainwashed. You was brainwashed by the cookie. You thought you was special. You didn't know you was one among 13. But you still went in to do a legal striptease and found yourself being solicited. That goes solicitation, right? Solicited into breaking the law and becoming, at that point, a hooker. You was a hoe. Let's go.
Citizen in this country out of fear that someone's just going to kind of glob onto something you did years ago and hold it against you at a federal trial.
Cleveland, what is Cleveland?
And usually we know, I've seen defense attorneys say, well, hey, there's no physical evidence, so it can't be proved. There was no rape kit, there was no DNA.
No, that does not.
In this case, they don't need that, correct?
They don't need it.
Now, I don't know if you trolling. I don't know. I don't know. So we finna determine if you a troll, because we don't troll over here. Okay, Cleveland. So are you saying that selling sex is not criminal? You telling me it's legal? You telling me that you can go in more than one state? Are you telling me it's legal? You say it's not criminal. What is it? What is it? See, this is why I say I understand why a lot of people are in jail. I understand, because you don't know the law. Now, just because people do it, don't tell me people do it all the time, because that just means people break the law all the time. And it's not a problem until it is a problem. And guess what right now? It's a problem. That's why Boosie Badass said, y'all, they done changed the laws up on us. And they gonna get us on the back end. Now, I'm sorry that you don't see it as a criminal activity, but it is. Do your research, okay? And we don't troll over here. We are grown. And if I see that you trolling, I'm gonna get you up out of here. Because you are not gonna say that that's not criminal activity. There are labor laws. And when you break labor laws, that's criminal. That's federal. That's government. Now, I don't know if you don't know that. This generation here, y'all so behind, baby. That's why y'all asses stay locked up. Because y'all don't even know when y'all breaking the law. And then y'all, the ones be sitting up there saying, you can't, what? And then try to resist arrest. Think you have the right to do that. And you breaking the law again. So please don't. I am not trolling you at all, ma'am. I'm sorry. Yeah, because how can you say it's not a criminal activity? It's not legal for you to buy sex. Since when? In California, New York, Miami, since when? No, it's criminal. And it falls up under the racketeering. Nevada, but they didn't do it in Nevada. They didn't do it in Nevada. That's where he should have went. And then we'll be having a different conversation. But then I just would have found another one that I can prove. That I just don't want to beat that. I just went with the two easiest ones. But Capricorn Clark proved racketeering. To me, she probably had the most proof. She had wages. She had the didn't want to go to Kid Cudi's, and he said, I don't give a fuck. Get dressed. And he had a gun in his hand. Capricorn Clark, to me, was the best witness to prove racketeering. Because in hers, it's more than, and then he beat her up. And again, I just showed y'all the difference between DV and aggravated assault with a deadly weapon. Workers, co-workers, bosses, that is not DV at all. That is not considered DV. That is aggravated assault. Only person that he would have DV with would be Cassie. And I haven't even added her in the equation. Other than buying sex for her and her dude. It was really for her dude. Because he the one had, anyway. Yeah. X-Ray said, whoop, whoop.
Any of it. It's all credibility. If the jury believes these witnesses, that's enough. As a citizen of this country, out of fear that someone's just going to kind of glob onto something you did years ago and hold it against you at a federal criminal trial. It's pretty scary stuff.
And usually,
Aaron, yes, hey.
Say, well, hey, there's no physical evidence, so it can't be proved. There was no rape kit. There was no DNA. But in this case, they don't need that, correct?
They don't need any of it. It's all credibility. If the jury believes these witnesses, that's enough. I think they even get a special jury instruction that says that they can convict on the testimony of one eyewitness.
Absolutely.
So in theory, they don't even need this menagerie of witnesses to come in to testify about everything that Combs did to these people. If you have one person who says, for example, let's say it's Mia, and Mia comes in and says, I saw Sean Diddy do this to so-and-so. I saw him or heard him threaten her life. I heard him take a knife or saw him take a knife on this day. In theory, they don't even have to bring in all those people. They can just present it through one witness. But practically speaking, juries really need to hear from everybody, because at some point the prosecution will start to lose credibility, and it's going to look like that they are ganging up on him really without the goods. And juries, especially nowadays, they don't have a hard time convicting, but a lot of them really do have a conscience, and they want to make sure that they are convicting people based on rock solid evidence. Evidence and not on hearsay. And unfortunately, you can convict of a RICO violation based on hearsay. It's sad but true.
Is it dogpiling though, or is it just that Mr. Combs has been in business for decades and decades, and maybe there are this many?
Yes, they gave him erectile dysfunction.
What he did to anybody, don't get me wrong. But there's an old expression, not just in law, but in the literature, that
they had that man in search for freezer meat. Okay.
we are not defined by the sum of our worst day. You know, in other words, just because you have a couple of bad days in life, maybe spread out biannually, annually, does that really define who you are as an individual? Because what's interesting, when you look at some of the evidence
she held him out
in Diddy's world, you see them smiling at Burning Man, you see them giving the peace sign at parties, you see them hugging, you see them kissing. So it wasn't all bad. The problem is that when it goes from the good and morphs into the bad, it literally goes from that.
Punish that man Pecker.
The comedy tragedy masks that we see in theater arts, but that's what it does. And it just flips, like with absolutely no notice, where he just goes from like this healthy, normal affect to almost like this manic craziness. And it puts people in fear for their lives. And if he's doing all of this under the umbrella of the Combs enterprise, unfortunately, this man's looking at life.
And you bring up a good point there with, you know, some of the victims appearing in photos with Mr. Combs looking happy. Some people may ask, why didn't she leave? Or why didn't she say something sooner? From a legal standpoint, how do prosecutors handle that kind of victim blaming? Because there was a moment when
that's definitely victim blaming.
She did say, you know, she couldn't even say no to a sandwich. So that's why she couldn't say no to Mr. Combs. But on the other hand, could the defense argue, well, you worked for him for 8 years?
The practical reality is, Kennedy, that just about every juror has had to work for somebody else in life. I'm not going to say that all jurors are self-employed, that they're the captain of their own ship, but they understand what it means to have to respect authority in the workplace and have to
until they put their hands on me.
And they are 100% dependent on their employer to keep their job open, keep the paycheck going. And sometimes people don't have the means, they don't have the contacts, and they might not even have the will to find other employment. So they feel trapped. And when you feel trapped, it means you have to endure what's being perpetrated on you by a taskmaster for a boss. And at some point, it morphs from being an employer-employee relationship almost to indentured servitude. And there's no way out. And our laws proscribe indentured servitude, peonage, and trafficking. And that's what happens. And then there's an entire pathology, particularly in the romantic relationships, why people stay in these relationships. And it goes back to this entire, I don't know if I necessarily want to call it a sickness, but it's this cycle of human tolerance, human forgiveness, and yet there is also a limit. But when people reach the limit and your abuser or your oppressor comes back and tries to make good and make up for what they've done, then you fall back into that cycle and you start reliving the drama all over again. And then it goes back to that comedy drama type cycle where things are good again. And then there's this sort of brief pause, and then the violence starts up again. And at some point, it's crazy making. But they're trapped because they can't just leave and make a life for themselves without having to become impoverished. And that's the fear. We see that, for example, with battered spouses. We even see it with battered children. They're too young to get out of a house. They're too young to go truant maybe, or be afraid to run away. They have nowhere to go. Cops won't listen to them. Neighbors won't listen to them. Instead, they just bring them back to that same violent environment. And at some point, you don't know what to do. Now, in this case, fortunately, women left, and they did eventually get out. And thank goodness they did, because Lord only knows if they would have survived it.
Right. And you touch on the emotion there, and I think that that's very important, because several of these witnesses have cried on the stand. We saw it with Cassie, with Capricorn Clark, and now Mia. Mia testified that she was going to die with this secret. Can powerful lines like that impact how a jury feels and ultimately rules?
Absolutely, because remember, one of the elements is force, fraud, or coercion. And if these witnesses / victims are truly feeling the wrath of Diddy through force, fraud, or coercion, then the jury can convict. So far, I think they've made out the predicate acts, and these witnesses have made a compelling case in front of the jury that it was all done by coercion. It's not looking good for Diddy, I gotta tell you. I don't know what that offer was before the trial started, but it's probably looking pretty good right now, and he might be having second thoughts about not having taken it.
Well, how does the defense go about combating this testimony?
Well, look, I don't think that it's difficult for jurors to see that not every relationship is perfect, and you're not condoning what Diddy did, for lack of a better term, but that you argue to the jury that everything is improperly filed. He is not charged with domestic violence, so you're not telling the jury that your client is a Vienna choir boy, and you're certainly not asking the jury to invite him over for Sabbath dinner, or to set a Seder plate for him, but that's not what's before them. What is before them is to see whether or not there was no consent, and whether or not this was in fact done by force, fraud, or coercion. And it's pretty scary how you can be in a relationship and things are hot and cold, emotions ebb and flow, there are highs and lows, but then suddenly you're behind the V, as we say in a criminal case, where if a victim says, yes, yes, it's good, but then if they change and say, no, no, you're a criminal. And I think the test for the jury is going to be whether or not these quote-unquote victims really did consent. And if in Diddy's mind, he reasonably believed that they consented, because that's the standard. Did he reasonably believe that they consented? And if he reasonably believed that, the burden shifts to the federal government to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that they did not consent. And you never know, he really might be able to hang it. My fear is, though, that he would probably have to testify and explain to the jury why his beliefs were reasonable.
228 people have voted.
Sort of explain that he wasn't the greatest partner, he probably wasn't the greatest boss, but that he wasn't a racketeer or a trafficker.
Well, when you say there's some things maybe Mr. Combs didn't realize, could it be argued with Mia taking the stand and in her own
60% says yes, 40% says
and then say, well, how was Mr. Combs supposed to know otherwise?
Absolutely, because there's a doctrine in the law, we call it assertive conduct. Okay, assertive conduct means that people can consent and acquiesce and agree, and just by way of their conduct. So in theory, you can go to a bar, hang out, you spot somebody that you're interested in, without actually voicing the words, hey, you want to come home with me?
Oh, they showing emotions. They rolling their eyes.
Kiss on each other. Before you know it, you're walking out to the car, you're getting into the car, you're going over to their place. But does that mean that it was articulated? No. So you look at the behavior. The behavior suggests that there's consent. You don't see anybody pulling away. You don't see anybody slapping the other person, saying, take your hands off me, or, I'm not that type of person. I'm not interested. No, so you look at the behavior and move almost like a medley, and you say to yourself, how else could you interpret this? This looks like an act of consent. Now, you might not like what went down during, the course of everything, but you never once tried to back out. You never once said,
well, I just showed them too.
And if they did,
logically,
and Stream did try to get out, and Diddy continued anyway, that's a sexual assault. That is rape. Just like yes means yes, no also means no.
And even listen, y'all, even in my 2, I didn't say nothing about the 8 part, because that was proven too, not just with Capricorn Clark. If me serves me correct, in that time when she tried to leave out the hotel because she didn't want to do it, he came and got her and drug her back. And that time, at that moment, that was a no. And he forced her. So there were another one. I try not to even go there.
Stream, and your victim says stop, no more, and you do not stop. That is a predicate act under RICO.
Absolutely.
Let's just pretend hypothetically that.
But most men don't want to hear that. And hell, we heard yesterday.
Stream did try to get out.
Hold on. Now, I'm not just gonna put it on the men. Because Jules Capricorn was mop in this case. What do you mean she was she was MVP? Okay, yeah. I'm not just gonna say when a female say no. I don't think the little boy, Danny boy, said no, but it was still 8, and he realized that once he got therapy that it was 8, even though he said it was some of the best he ever had. He know now, 20 years later, so she say, it's 8. But see, the problem with that is most men, now I can only speak for men because I've said no before, and most men, a lot of men don't think no means no. I don't care if someone is in the act of it. And then somebody gonna say, well, why would you say no? Because something was said or something could have been done. And it's like, oh, And so I can see why men are saying, no, that ain't 8. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. And women need to understand when it's 8 for women, because women are not exempt from it. There are some women out there who 8. AunTeaFee, huh? It's not just a man thing. The men do it more often than females. But there are some female apers. And they may not look at it like that. That girl who is angry, blue, Christian rock, when she went to go get therapy for her anger, she a prime example. When she went to go get help, and the revelation came to her, she released, however they can get it out, that her sister molested her. And her sister's like, girl, you tripping. And she said, no, I'm not. You know you did. I believe her. Because her sister started acting just like a predator. So I do think therapy, when you go to therapy, some things that are suppressed comes out. You understand? But I want to say that women are not exempt. Now, they may like the word molested more than they like the word ape. I don't know. I ain't never did neither one of them. And I'm going to say I ain't never been neither one of them. But I believe her sister aped her. Molested or lusted her. I believe that. And I believe that was a part of her healing. I do believe that. And that girl from yesterday we found out, Jewels, she got mad because she a different person now than what she was 25 years ago. It don't matter. When you did it, that's what that was. Yeah. So people need to recognize when people say no, I don't care if you're about to, one of your best ones. You better not move now another step unless you bagging up out that thing. Because if you still going forward just to get it off, that may go over somebody's head, or they may not realize I was going to say it like that, but it is what it is.
And Diddy continued anyway. That's a sexual assault. That is rape. Just like yes means yes, no also means. And you say to yourself, how else could you interpret this? This looks like an act of consent. Now, you might not like
the jury
what
pool
went down during, the course of everything, but
but if them men got daughters,
everyone said no, I want out. And if they did, and midstream did try to get out, and Diddy continued anyway, that's a sexual assault. That is rape. Just like yes means yes, no also means no. Even if you're in the heat of things and you are midstream and your victim says stop, no more, and you do not stop, that is a predicate act under RICO. But let's just pretend hypothetically that nobody ever said stop, but instead they're just thinking it. Oh, I wish he would get off of me. I wish he would just stop already. Why doesn't he just die? Get away from me. But you don't voice it. You don't articulate it. The man is not the great Karnak. He's not a mind reader. And now to come after him 15 years later and call him a trafficker, a racketeer, a rapist, I think a jury might have a hard time. I really do. To be fair.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Paid to be real.
That's why I didn't use those as an example of the two.
And what a lot of sense. And Mia's argument just that she was just too afraid and thought that he would ruin her life and ruin her.
That's why I didn't use her.
She said no. She said he was a very powerful man, so she just felt voiceless, essentially. But some people compare Mia's story to what we saw in the Weinstein case. Do you think this case is headed in that direction legally?
How did R. Kelly get
case? I see it
found guilty?
I see it like the Epstein, Ghislaine, Maxwell.
How did Epstein get? How did they get found guilty?
Right. You know what I mean? Where Ghislaine is kind of looking for people, grooming them, bringing them, to the leader, to the mob boss, if you will. And then, but I think the distinction between Ghislaine and Jeffrey Epstein.
Okay, so let's say this. Let's say this. Pressure, Aaron, yes, whoever else is in the comments. Let's say this. In these type cases, here within the last 10 years, 8 years, in these type cases that the feds brought against them, who has won? Hi, Lamar. In these type cases, jury had to decide who has beat it in the last 8 to 10 years. What celebrity? Who has? Because Pressure keeps saying the jury was 8. Okay, that's fine. Who has beat these trafficking type cases? Because they've been popping up within the last 10 years. Black and white. Who has beat it? Because that's what I need to research. Who has beat it? The jury going home every day may be a problem. Who has beat it. Because again, what we hear and what they hear is too totally, it's a whole bunch left out. And they have instructions. They have guidelines. If you see this, that, you cannot enter a not guilty verdict. You can't. So with that being said, how you feel, emotions and all of that, that's out. If you see, if this was proven, any of these, you have to hit with a guilty. Now, what the judgment of them, or the severity of, have you seen this? Was this proven? All they need is 2. And it don't matter the ratio of men to women if they proved it. And they've proved quite a bit of them. So that's what I'm saying, the jury, which one of them have obeyed? That's all I'm asking. I'm not saying the jury is the, which one, every one of the charges, they may have been the same, but the circumstances was different, just like the jury was different. My question is really simple. Which one of them have beat it? Did Uncle Bill beat him? Did Harvey, Einstein, whatever that man name is, the one who was sitting in jail, took his life, his madam, the ones that with Ira out, which ones have beat it? None. Oh, okay. And they were jury trials. They were jury. I said within the last 8 to 10 years. Hell, he been gone longer than that. There go that narcissist. There go that. Ooh, pressure up. I had to come honest and come.
Whereas here, I think what you've got, it's a little different. You've got everybody intimately involved. I don't see it as the Weinstein case. I see it a little different. I almost see it like the Epstein, Ghislaine, Maxwell type scenario.
Yeah, I've heard that as well. Absolutely.
So that's, you know what they measuring it on.
For people.
That's how they are. They putting it up. They're not putting it up against our.
Some people compare Mia's story to what we saw in the Weinstein case. Do you think this case is headed in that direction legally?
I don't see it as the Weinstein case. I see it a little different. I almost see it like the Epstein, Ghislaine, Maxwell type scenario.
Yeah, I've heard that as well. Absolutely.
Right? You know what I mean? Where Ghislaine is kind of looking for people. Grooming them.
Oh, there go. That's KK.
Them, you know, to the leader, to the,
she ain't came yet.
Boss, if you will. You know? And then, but I think the distinction between Ghislaine and Jeffrey Epstein is that I don't believe that Jeffrey ever victimized Ghislaine. Instead, he always rewarded her. They were literally like thick as thieves, kind of partners in crime. Whereas here,
that's KK. She just ain't came out yet.
You've got everybody intimately involved on a daily basis in an employment situation, as opposed to just purely a party situation. And that employment sort of umbrella is what kind of triggers the enterprise aspect of RICO. And I think the jury can infer, well, look, this guy's running a business. He's got people in his employ. He's victimizing them. He's putting them in indentured servitude in a form of peonage. Yeah, he might be paying them a pittance, but he's doing it by force, coercion.
Yeah, but he paying them pennies when they work 20 hours a day.
Way, I think. But I will tell you that the more victims that they have coming in, the more insurmountable it will be for Diddy. But when you have 1 or 2 people, you could be able to argue it as maybe people who are disgruntled. They were the hopeful sort of monkey wannabe starlets, R&B singers, agents, people from the music world who really thought that they were going to be titans and dynamos, only to have their hopes dashed because Diddy dumped them. And now they
He
get to
used
come
him.
in and have the last word, take that stand and take down Diddy. And I think that's how you play it. But that can only work, I think, if you only have a couple of people. And it remains to be seen who else they have coming in to take the stand who was victimized by him. Because the more you have, the more insurmountable it becomes.
Right, and we have weeks more. So we are definitely going to be following this case very closely to see what happens. Philip, thank you so much for coming on today.
Thank you, Kennedy. Have a great weekend.
Okay.
Sean Combs denies all allegations. For all of the Diddy trial coverage, you can watch our live shows every weekday at 12 noon Eastern and continue to follow our uploads right here on the Law and Crime YouTube channel. For Law and Crime, I'm Kennedy Walker.
Hold on. I got two more. Okay, so which one is? Hold on, I need to make sure I'm gonna grab the right one. I want to see. Which one is this one? 19. Yep.
There's a lot to break down with what's happening today specifically. So we have alleged victim number 4 on the stand in this racketeering, sex trafficking, prostitution case. This is somebody.
So after this one, I'm going to play the attorney.
Testified to being a personal assistant to Sean Combs, that she was abused by him in the past, that she was sexually assaulted by him, and yet today is a continuation of the cross-examination by Sean Combs' defense counsel.
I like to hear Elizabeth because she was in court.
Questioning her about her resume, past messages she sent to Sean Combs, a lawsuit against Sean Combs when she worked with prosecutors, really going to the heart of her credibility. So I want to get now a first-hand perspective of this testimony and this cross-examination from Elizabeth Milner, law and crimes reporter who's been in that courtroom every single day of testimony.
Hey, Elizabeth.
Elizabeth, so good to see you. I want you to lay out for us.
303 people voted. 58% says yes. The feds have proved their case. I was supposed to stop it a long time ago and didn't.
Last week regarding a video. It might have been a happy birthday video that was going to come into evidence, that wasn't going to come into evidence, the back and forth between the prosecution and the defense that, you know, the defense says, oh, we just saw this video, we just got it. The prosecution, I think, was, raised an objection that you didn't give us advance notice of this. And it goes to the heart of her credibility, the way she's speaking in this video. Real quick, before we move on to the rest of the cross-examination, what is that video I'm talking about? And it was admitted into evidence today, right?
Yeah, it definitely was admitted into evidence today. I was a little kind of confused just about the video per se, because at first when they were kind of talking about the video, they were making it seem like Mia had gotten all these different happy birthday messages from not only herself, but also from loved ones of Diddy too. So I was thinking that it'd be kind of a compilation of just maybe some famous faces, those who are close to Diddy, all saying happy birthday. But for this video that we saw in court specifically, it was a present for Diddy's 44th birthday. And you can see Mia on camera. And it was interesting too, because the video that we saw in the gallery, it wasn't Mia's face blurred out. We really saw her actual face.
They exposed her face, child.
But as far as what she's saying on this video, she's applying lip gloss on this video, kind of getting ready for the camera. And then she calls Diddy things along the lines of, he's a big inspiration. She blows a kiss to the camera and pretty much just says,
if you've been hurt in a car wreck, watch out.
Watch out. The insurance company's job is to do what's best for them, not for you.
And pretty much just says happy birthday to him. And so I think, yeah, to your point, Jesse, the defense was trying to have this video in because they say this is Mia's true demeanor. They say what she presented herself in or presented herself on as far as direct testimony goes isn't her true self, that she's kind of playing it up for the jury. But they wanted to introduce this video in pretty badly in order to kind of show that this is the real and true Mia, which is interesting too, because I think even as she's reading her text message she sends either to Diddy or somebody else, that she's kind of saying it in her true voice. She's not kind of speaking in like a meek, soft-toned kind of speech or anything. But for the most part, it was something that the defense definitely wanted in, and they were able to get that video in today.
Yeah, and I know there was a whole back and forth last week about, like you said, her affect. Is she really testifying in her true voice? But, other than just the substance of it, why are you wishing a happy birthday to a man that tormented you and abused you? Now, she claims sexually assaulted her. So I now want to go into the continuation of this cross-examination. There was a lot that was brought up everything from her resume, was she a strong leader who could speak up for herself, past messages she sent to Sean Combs, the lawsuit that she filed against him, when she decided to work with prosecutors, because I think the central theme is that she's only going after Sean Combs for what? Money? So talk to us about what was the substance of the cross-examination today.
Well, the substance of it overall, to your point, Jesse, was kind of all over the place. We were hearing about her resume. We were seeing a bunch of text messages. We were seeing a bunch of, I would say, a bunch of photos too. But even as far as just the start of it this morning, Mia still kind of presents herself in the same way, keeping her head down while she walks to the witness stand, just walks directly to the witness stand, doesn't make a look at the defense, doesn't look at us in the press, none of that. She just walks to the witness stand, sits down, and then the jury's brought in, and then they continue with her cross-examination. But even for the most part, while Brian Steele was continuing her cross-examination, he doesn't do things like other defense attorneys we've seen do. He doesn't say hello, good morning, how is you? He didn't do any of that. He really just kind of got right into the exhibits, and then there was kind of an issue on whether or not this exhibit should be shown, and it was just like it seemed like it was taking a little bit forever for things to pretty much get started this morning. But she was asked this morning, where did you attend university? Where'd you go to college? What was your GPA? So after your study abroad, you were an assistant to somebody, and Mia's responding yes to all of this. And then they bring up her resume. They literally showed her resume, obviously not with her real name or anything like that, but of course with Mia written on it. And I was just like, where is this going as far as why they're bringing up a resume that she had did after she completed college and probably when she was applying for this job? Why are they bringing this into evidence? And so they talked about how in her specific bullet points under the descriptions for her job, how she catered to celebrity clients and always addressed their studio needs and kept inventory of all personal possessions, documentation, including passports. So they kind of brought it back to her direct testimony where she was explaining how she was trying to escape Diddy and how Diddy had kept hold of her passport. But Brian still asked her, when you said your passport was being held, that wasn't just your passport, it was everybody's passport. And Mia responded yes. Mia was asked, you take on responsibility. She said, true. You're a leader. She said, she kind of is pausing before she's answering this question, which I thought was pretty interesting because she was like, I don't know how you can really answer that. And then Brian still says, but you tell others to speak up speak up for themselves. Mia says yes. Then we see an exhibit, kind of a zoomed in portion of Mia's resume, how she speaks 4 languages, how she has thick skin. And so I think what Brian Steele in the defense was trying to do was kind of use her resume in a way against her, where it's like, okay, you say you have thick skin, you say you can work these long hours without feeling overworked, and you say that you're this team player and team leader. And so then the defense kind of passes out those binders again with all the exhibits. And so we see Mia recognizing her text message. So those were moved into evidence. So we see text messages from Mia to Diddy first in December 27th of 2018. So this was after Mia was no longer working for Combs Enterprise. Mia says, Merry Christmas. I love you so, so much. Diddy said, same to you. And he responded and sent that message 2 days after Mia sent her initial message. Then a week later, Mia says, Happy New Year's. Then we see another text exhibit of a message from Mia. This text was also after Mia left the job, where she said, and I'm kind of paraphrasing here, that she had a nightmare that she was trapped in an elevator with R. Kelly and that you came to my rescue. And the you she's referring to is obviously Diddy. And then Brian still asked, so you told the jury that this person who terrorized you, caused you PTSD, was the person who came to your rescue? And there was an objection. It was sustained. Then we see another text exhibit, this one from March 8th of 2019. Mia's,
why are women everywhere choosing Abby X, the new tummy tuck alternative?
I got the tummy text exhibit, this one from March 8th of 2019. Mia's telling Diddy, sending you all the love in the world, heart emoji. And then the defense is saying, you weren't under Mr. Combs's spell then. And she was like, well, I was. It was psychological. It was because Kim had just passed away. I felt horrible. And Brian still is like, ma'am, this death happened 5 months earlier. And she says yes. Why did you continue reaching out? And so that was kind of the gist of where we were going with it. We saw more text exhibits from March 8th.
No, pressure. I was supposed to end it long time ago. I just didn't. I ended it earlier. I said it was at 60-40, and I was supposed to end it then, and I didn't.
not this past March 8th, but we saw text exhibits from March 8th of
So no, it's
2018
not
or 2019, I
50-50.
believe.
It's 60-40.
We saw a text from New Year's Eve from 2019 from Mia to Diddy. We saw another text May 14th of 2020, a text to Diddy 3 years after Mia had left, where Mia said something along the lines of, "Puff, my heart is broken about Dre. You are one of the most influential people. I know it's excruciating. I will always be there." We see another message from Mia to Diddy about Chadwick Boseman's death. Then it just seems like they were just kind of going over text after text after text. And then Mia is asked, you had the capability of carrying around a phone with you. Did you have any recordings of Mr. Combs berating you? And Mia responds, no, he wouldn't allow it. Do you have any texts with family or friends about what Mr. Combs put you through? No, it was all kept a secret. And I felt like the line of questioning was kind of hard to watch at points, right? Because this is alleged victim number 4. This is also, you know, a victim who had talked about how she was sexually abused, sexually assaulted by her boss. But it seems like from the defense's perspective that this didn't even happen, because Brian Steele would say something along the lines of the supposed sexual assault, or this didn't happen to you, you made all of this up. It was really just that intensive of questioning, or that intensive questioning, I should say. Then we saw an exhibit photo, a text from August 29th of 2020. Mia saying, life is effing insane. It happens for a reason, that I've been tapping into spirituality.
Not on all 8.
Is asked, do you have
It's
any
not been reasonable that on all 8
by Mr. Combs?
counts.
And she says, I don't believe so. She's asked,
only the DV.
Combs was violent towards you and unprofessional towards you. She said no. Did you write in your notes today that Mr. Combs sexually assaulted you? Mia wrote no. You sent these messages, and the Me Too movement was strong for 2.5 years, and these messages were sent in 2020. Why didn't you respond, or that you remembered all the bad times that you had with Mr. Combs? Is it because it's not true? And Mia said, I didn't lie in this courtroom. Everything that I said is true. And again, it was a little harsh to kind of watch, because again, it just seemed like from the defense's perspective that they were really kind of painting Mia out to be this liar, that she made things up, that Mr. Combs or Diddy never sexually assaulted her, that these events didn't happen, because why is she sending these text messages saying love you and happy New Year?
No, I'm listening to something else in my ear. Her emails and stuff about I love you and all that, that's a part of that love bombing that he does to everybody in the beginning. Hell, she thought he was her friend, like he was her best friend. You know, that trauma bonding, love bombing, he say he love, and he manipulates the mind, and these people really be thinking they love him, and he loves them. Shit.
Him good wishes even after the fact. And so
no.
Mia's asked constantly, why didn't you say that Mr. Combs
hey, Gwendolyn.
You?
Hey,
and
Ronald.
Mia responds, I was still brainwashed. Steele asks, what does brainwash mean? And Mia says, I was in an environment where highs were high. I would try so hard to get back into that good space. I felt like I had done something horrific by going to mediation, like I did something wrong. I was constantly seeking his approval. He was a constant authority figure, the only authority figure that I guess she had. And so to me, and again, Jesse, you know, we cover these types of cases all the time at Law and Crime about why victims don't come forward. And I felt like watching this cross-examination, it felt like this is the exact reason
I agree,
why victims
Beauty
don't come
Queen.
forward. Brian Steele was, quite frankly, very harsh with her, and I think even the government was kind of pointing it out too, because there were some arguments outside of the presence of the jury where the government accused Brian Steele of yelling at her and being sarcastic with her. The judge didn't necessarily see it that way, but I think other people who were in the gallery, maybe not per se the jurors or anything like that, but really we're seeing just kind of like how much is enough when it comes to just questioning an alleged victim about whether
that one juror only gets him off of one count, not all of them. I'm listening to something else too, y'all.
Throwing her old photos at her, her old texts at her, and I was just kind of like, we're still not at the end of it just yet.
Well, let me ask you a question. I heard a rumor that the jurors are responding quite well to Brian Steele,
absolutely,
the way he's been cross-examining.
But that love bombing is real.
Victim number 4, Mia. From what you could tell, how were they responding to this cross?
Yeah, so I did hear kind of the same thing on Friday, where some jurors, yes, were responding kind of well to the defense. But I will say, even today goes, I've heard other reports saying that you could see the jurors yawning and probably, like the rest of us, probably wondering, okay, where is this going? But I know I saw one comment that was like, we need to get Elizabeth kind of seated on a better side where she can see the jury. But unfortunately, still on the same side where I can only see half of their faces.
I agree with what I just heard in my ear.
To me, it was just kind of the same of what I would
Still using pads and
Yeah,
diapers.
that
for
love bombing
incontinence?
stuff is real.
It's 2025. There's a better way.
It was just kind of the same of what I was seeing kind of from where I am inside that courtroom of just the jurors taking their notes. So I'm not seeing if they're laughing along or yawning or anything like that. But I have heard from other people who do have a better view of the jury that, you know, today seemed like, okay, where are we going with this? How much longer is this witness going to be on the stand? And kind of just all taking it in, everything that's going on with the cross.
Yeah, they were sick of that.
There's a lot more that's going to be happening with this cross, and also probably redirect. And I want you to have a great seat in the courtroom. So right now, I know your time is limited. Elizabeth, you're going to go back into the courtroom, report to us later, up on sidebar. We'll do a
So I agree. He beat her up. He had her on the ropes.
Miller, thank you so much.
I agree that today was a defense day with Mia.
But as you know, we're going to continue the conversation.
They haven't won a case.
Regarding this testimony, regarding the cross-examination, regarding the case.
And they did not win everything with her, because
I'm here with
the most important part right now is with her was the forced labor.
Maybe we didn't have Joe. Hopefully we get
and she got money for that, $400,000. She had to pay the attorneys $200,000.
We'll get it later. Okay, so I'm made of questions right now because we have a lot of people who are commenting on this cross-examination. Let me go to the first question that we had coming in here. Okay, we'll start with the video. So Melba, you heard that video, that happy birthday video that apparently came in, very consistent with what the defense is doing.
He not going home, Aaron. Yes, no.
About her allegations. This is from Never.
Unless he go home in the bag.
Excuse me. Do you think the video was as big of a deal as defense made it to be? Appears to be her giving a shout out for birthday and the film they were working on. In my opinion, it's nothing. Is it nothing, Melba?
Yeah, so good afternoon, and always great to be on. And yeah, I agree. It's a bit of nothing because, again, the defense has been consistently saying, here's another social media post where you shouted out Diddy. Here's another email or text message where you said something positive to him. So there comes a point where the jury gets the point, and now you're beating a dead horse. And when you get to that point, you start to lose points with the jury because they're like, all right, we got it already.
And is that all you got?
You're literally making us stay longer.
Yeah, and that's all you got. Then you really don't have nothing else.
I think he already made his point 10 different ways from sunrise with all the different text messages
I agree.
and social media posts and all that. The video is nothing new, doesn't add anything more to what's already been said.
See, but
I agree.
Alexis,
He beating a dead horse.
This is not a clean case for the prosecution, right? I know how they're building it up towards racketeering. I know how they're building it up for sex trafficking. They need the jury to believe these key alleged victims, and to have text messages or videos or other witness testimony saying, why didn't they step away? Why were they praising Sean Combs? As Elizabeth reported, there was testimony earlier. There's a lot of different factors that go into why alleged victims stay with the people who abuse them and even praise them.
Okay, now I'm gonna say this. Aaron. Let me say this. He didn't go too far for the defense. Yeah, I was listening to something. He didn't. He is paid to make her look like a fool, to make her story, whether it's true or not, look like a lie. That's why he being paid millions. And if you can't get up there and come up with something to make her look like I don't give a shit. Okay, so in that regards, he did what he was supposed to do. I don't care nothing about victim shaming. I don't care nothing. I may get beat up for it in the media. True. But that man is paying me millions of dollars. He went in, yep, he was supposed to. And if you was paying a defense attorney, you would want him to go in on someone bad. If I was hiring him against somebody who had violated me, I would want him to go in there and tell him that you have to take coochie because you got a Tootsie Roll. Is it true that you have performance issues? Yeah. Was you touch? See, I would want my notes, my sticky would be going in on the fact that you got a Tootsie Roll. And I would give everybody, I have a tissue where they had them binders and shit in their seats. I'd had tissue rolls in their seat. I'd have attacked every day. We'd be chewing in the courtroom on some Tootsie Rolls, because that's all he had to offer. You understand? The goal was to give Mill the breakdown on absolutely. Now, would I have rather him not re-victimize her? I would have rather. But once she sit on that seat, all you have to do is tell your truth. Now, knowing that, they're going to pick holes in them. So I think that the prosecution team should have been able to grill her better. They should have came at her with those tough type questions to prepare her for that. But in all fairness, he did what he was supposed to do. He did what he was hired to do. And she came in all timid. See, she made herself almost a victim again, to be attacked and bullied again. Oh yeah, I could eat her up. She ain't healed yet. And she came in here playing with the diddler and his team. Pick the weakest link. Absolutely. But baby, I'm gonna tell you something. I'd had Tootsie Rolls. We've been Tootsie. How many licks does it take to get to the middle of a Tootsie Roll pop? I'd had all type of Tootsie Roll pop jigs. If it was me. Let's go. Itty bitty ditty.
With them, but it makes it not a clean case for the prosecution, and the defense is exploiting it as they should.
Absolutely.
As they should. I mean, that's their job to, there were a case for the prosecution, right? I know how they're building it up towards
5 pounds.
I know how they're building it up for sex trafficking. We need a jury to believe these key alleged victims, and to have text messages.
That's where I would have went. I ain't gonna even lie.
Saying, why didn't they step away? Why were they praising Sean Combs? As Elizabeth reported, there was testimony earlier. There's a lot of different factors that go into why alleged victims stay with the people who abuse them and even praise them and even maintain a relationship with them or have consensual sex with them. But it makes it not a clean case for the prosecution, and the defense is exploiting it as they should. As they should. I mean, that's their job to say, there are question marks here. And I wonder, is it a question mark that's going to be enough to raise reasonable doubt about whether or not any of this happened, or whether or not, there were willing participants, whether it was consensual, whether or not this was a criminal enterprise? Alexis, I think this is a concern for the prosecution.
I think it's a huge concern. I think from a defense strategy, it was excellent. It was an excellent play. They needed to show, and that video did that she's not this wallflower, this weak person, that's really, and what Brian Steele was doing, and by the way, he's an excellent attorney, was showing that her credibility, attacking her credibility, that she's not this weak person. Look at this video, because the text messages don't necessarily show that. That video nails that down. But there is a big question, even though we have, that this isn't inconsistent with the battered woman syndrome or someone who's been abused, the reaction. However, to a juror, why, years later, when she was out of the web, in essence, is she still sending these reassuring, happy texts and videos? Why is that? Is this really a show? Did she make this up?
Yeah, why did he reach out after her 6 months ago?
Civil rights attorney to join the conversation. Joe, great to have you here. Let me throw another question in, because a lot of people have questions about this. This is a question from P. Smar. Is this all accumulative, or can you see more than one point they are trying to prove? So I think the question is, from the cross-examination of Mia, is it just, she can't be believed, or are they using this to build a more general defense? Maybe it strikes at the credibility of Cassandra Ventura. Maybe it strikes at the heart of the prosecution.
He didn't do what with our Cass and
how they're
Capricorn?
bringing these charges. I think they're very selective and very strategic in what they're questioning Mia about, and maybe it goes to a larger point of their defense. What do you think?
Yeah, probably so. Good to be with you, Jesse, and everyone else. Glow, happy Monday. Yeah, I mean, you're not trying to undermine Mia and leave leave everyone else intact. Leave the other witnesses where things really started to get going last week as it pertains to really demonstrating some things that look like crimes and leave them intact. You want to cast doubt over this entire thing, including the notion that perhaps to the point that's been making this debate, you know,
you ready for Andy tomorrow, pressure?
He's a woman beater, etc. But maybe this is a little bit of a square peg and a round hole. Maybe this isn't
He's
a
sick
criminal
of Cassie and Mia
at all, particularly when, just like with everyone else, you've got Mia saying things that are very positive about P. Diddy. You got Mia saying things that are positive about him. One, she's not working for him anymore. Wait, is he still influencing her? Or was it possibly true, the positive?
That guy said that too.
So yeah, I think you're taking a knack at the whole situation here.
Every one of them, even the male.
People that were voluntarily in situations that weren't ideal, and they don't amount to a criminal conspiracy.
Okay, let's go here. Let me see. Yeah, even the guy, he didn't want to say nothing negative about Diddy either. Let me get to the attorney. His views be throwing me sometimes. Hold on. Is it way back here? Hold on, I thought I moved it up.
Those graphic details and going back and saying the things that she said are going to be absolutely key. And it's going to be the weight of the jury or the weight of that testimony for the jury to kind of decide if that is plausible or believable. And to go through those type of recounting what happened to you is something that's very powerful.
Real life street stars. I think he's a defense attorney. He used to be a prosecuting attorney.
Real life street stars.
Mia was the weakest link, that's why.
Real life street stars, man, we are back once again. As we do about this time, we are just wrapping up week 3. And of course, for your listening pleasure and viewing pleasure, for those out there, we have Larry Taylor Jr. I'm gonna get it right this time.
There you go.
The real life lawyer. First and foremost, how you doing? Reintroduce yourself. Let us know how you doing, man. How's everything?
I'm doing good, man. I'm Larry Taylor. I am a mass tort personal injury attorney that used to be a prosecutor and did defense, criminal defense.
There you go. I want to go and kick off with this, man. Is Diddy gonna walk?
I don't think so. I don't think so. It's still gray. But if I had to give a percentages, I would probably say he is 70-30 as far as convictions go. But you're dealing with a jury. And what's ironic is this jury is 50% of people 50 and older. And five of those individuals are 61 to 70. And so, you know, you're dealing with a generation who has a stronger fortitude with certain things, right? And so when you look at that, all of that plays a role in a jury. Most people believe that the world believes as they believe, and that's not true. You have 12 individuals who are not
they gonna say it's right.
Don't know each other.
They gonna say
in all of
they gonna say yeah, Diddy out of order.
And so when you start talking about an age difference, that weighs in.
The younger people would justify it more than the older people.
I was a prosecutor. We had one juror who was 21 to 25. And to that person,
yeah, he got a better chance with young people.
It just didn't mean, you know, losing your balance or slurring your words or something of that nature. So all of that comes into play during a criminal trial.
People in their 50s, 60s, and 70s. Come on. Come on, y'all. He have a better chance with younger people that free for all, freak all, you know, have clothes, all that. It's fun. You know, he have better chances with them. 50, 60, and 70, ape is ape. Forcing people that, yeah, they understand the, what did it used to be? The couch, the blue couch, the coach cat, what was that? The only way that you can make it is that you had to, you know, you had to do this, that, and the other on that couch. You talking about 50, 60, and 70? They not free for all. They not that free spirited like these young folks is. Pressure, you and your no, you ain't that old. Hi, Dante.
A juror is like, for them to have brought out Cassie week 1. Sometimes these trials be long. I'm looking at
them people gonna register with their boy mama or with that girl mama having to
is there like
refinance her house
when it comes to like, you know,
and we forgot about that extortion
case, that, you know, so much information is presented to where should they have brought out the big guns early, or should you wait till, you know, it's almost the closing where you're like, all right, we're gonna Cassie, we're gonna bring you in towards the end.
Okay, Pressure. They believe more than they don't. They don't believe Mia, and they don't believe Cassie. Who else do they not believe?
Cassie has really served as the basis for this tree. The other witnesses have basically been branches of this tree, because when you think about it, she spoke on,
and they shouldn't believe I'm saying for to say Dante. Hold on. Let me say this. What's that? And I'm sure they believe him to some degree, but the Punisher, I'm gonna say they, for the most part, they don't believe Cassie, other than the video, what they saw in the video. I'll give y'all that. In Mia, it's 2. They shouldn't believe the Punisher, but they do. They shouldn't believe that he say that she looked like she enjoyed it. She was picking me. See, I'd have ate him all the way up. But they believe him. So the only 2 that they find fault in is Cassie and Mia. And there's still, at least for her mama, they believe her. They believe that she got a message saying, you need to give me 20K, or I'm gonna put these pictures out. And then his employees send her instructions on how to wire the money. They believe Cassie's mama. They believe that first escort, the guy in the hotel, security. They believe that David guy who's still in love with Diddy, but said he quit because of Diddy. I'm just saying, it's just 2 of them that they lost, that the defense won on. Only 2. Really not 2. They won 1 day. 1 day. But everybody else, they believe. They believe Kid Cudi. They believe Cassie mama. They believe Capricorn. Mia, she's probably the worst. She probably is. I believe Cassie over Mia. But I believe that what she was there for is forced work, forced labor. Everything else, it wasn't necessary. So they still not winning. They still not winning. KK ain't hit the stand. Did KK hit the stand? KK ain't hit the stand, did she? Oh, you talking about her friend. Her friend who he beat with the clothes hanger. I don't remember her name. Only people that cause an uproar with, you know, is it DV over trafficking. So we can move that. The male escorts, the male hookers prove the trafficking for XXX, not Cassie. You know, yeah. So it's only 2 out of all the witnesses that's been on the stand. Tell the prosecution, get to the
on the
well, I think today was Cassie's last day. Andy is coming tomorrow.
Part of the RICO. She talked about abuse. She talked about, you know, losing your balance or slurring your words or something of that nature. So all of that comes into play during a criminal trial.
There you go. When it comes to juries, from your experience, a juror is like, for them to have brought out Cassie week 1. Sometimes
he always bring that up?
And I'm like, they just went ahead and killed that. But for them, do jurors have like fatigue when it comes to, like, you know, 2 months of a case that, you know, so much information is presented, to where should they have brought out the big guns early, or
he
should
asks
you wait
this all the time?
You know, it's almost the closing where you're like, all right, Cassie, we're gonna bring you in towards the end and, you know, bring this thing home.
I think the prosecution at this point has done the case in a very good fashion. Cassie has really served as the basis for this tree. The other
How many times you gotta keep saying that?
Basically been branches of this tree, because when you think about it, she spoke on the drugs. That's part of the RICO. She spoke on the hiring of male escorts or dancers, part of the RICO. She talked about the abuse. She talked about what she went through over a decade relationship.
It's as if he feels like that's important. He keeps saying the same thing.
She also laid the predicate for what the jury needed to see, as far as a woman who was in love with someone, had positive feelings, but at the same time, those positive feelings being used and against them to make them do things that was against their will. And so between that and the abuse that was taking place,
and against the law,
foundation for all of that. And so now, if you really think about it, every witness
in the Continental
goes back to her testimony and makes you say, or makes a juror say, you know what, she said that happened. She said this was his.
That's the man podcast.
This is how he operated. This is how he acted. This is how he treated people. This is how he abused individuals. And so all of that plays into building upon that base, right? She's the cornerstone. She's building upon that base to build this house, this jailhouse, to put Puffy in.
Let's go and get to it. Week 3.
What is this?
We see Capricorn Clark, one of Diddy's personal assistants, come out. And this is where we start getting to where now, when they have charges of kidnapping.
Correct.
We actually finally hear the words kidnapping, that she, of course, alleges that Diddy kidnapped her to take her over to, you know, go address Kid Cudi, that he was ready to, you know, unalive him. You know, weapons were out. He actually used a gun to kidnap. How, just without evidence of this, just basically, like you said, Cassie set up just a world in which Diddy operates. But when you have someone like Capricorn,
okay, let's
speaking that I was kidnapped, taken against my will to go do this run with him, and yes, guns were there.
Let's hear this.
Just taking someone's word for it. How, without evidence, is that?
That is. I'm sorry.
Someone's word. Yeah, is someone's word evidence?
It is evidence. If it's, and I said this before, if it's a first-hand testimony, right? So if I tell you, hey, Joker, I'm about to go unalive somebody, right? You can testify to that because you heard it directly.
Mm-hmm.
But if Rook told you, hey, Joker, Larry said he was going to unalive someone, then that's not evidence. That's not coming in because it's not firsthand testimony. You did not witness that yourself. And so someone's statements that witnessed.
So when Diddy said, I'm going to blow up his car so all Kid Cudi's friends can see it, the person who he told that to, that's evidence. Now, who she told it to, that's hearsay. But who he said it to, who he put that threat out to, that is evidence. That's why arson has been proven.
Something is definitely evidence.
So the defense, of course, they cross-examined. Let's go and get to it. Week 3, we see Capricorn Clark, one of Diddy's personal assistants, come out. And this is where we start getting to where now when they have charges of kidnapping.
Correct.
We actually finally hear the words kidnapping, that she, of course, alleges that Diddy kidnapped her to take her over to, go address Kid Cudi, that he was ready to, unalive him. Weapons were out. He actually used a gun to kidnap. How, just without evidence of this, just basically, like you said, Cassie set up just a world in which Diddy operates. But when you have someone like Capricorn speaking that I was kidnapped, taken against my will to go do this run with him, and yes, guns were there, just taking someone's word for it. How, without evidence, is that?
That is. I'm sorry.
Someone's word. Yeah, is someone's word evidence?
It is evidence. If it's, and I said this before, if it's a first-hand testimony, right? So if I tell you, hey, Joker, I'm about to go unalive somebody, right? You can testify to that because you heard it directly. But if Rook told you, hey, Joker, Larry said he was going to unalive someone, then that's not evidence. That's not coming in because it's not firsthand testimony. You did not witness that yourself. And so someone's statements that witnessed something is definitely evidence.
So the defense, of course, they cross-examined, and they were basically trying to find holes. And I guess that's their job, to basically say that she may be making up things because her dates were off as far as when Diddy, I guess he wrote her a letter of recommendation to go on and work, and she stated that I couldn't find a job after Diddy, but yet she was still around him. So she painted this horror story of being around him, but also she kept going back to him, and that's where the defense kind of came in to paint her as a character, saying that if it was so bad, just like with Cassie, if it was so bad, why do you keep going back willingly? Is it the fame? Because she said she had left Diddy to go be with Rihanna in some overseas. So they're like, you wanted the life and the fame, and yet that kept bringing you back to it. How does that look as far as to either a jury or just the case overall?
It's going to be a large part of the defense's case. We talked about it. It's songs about it. I think Cardi B and Offset made a song, Clout Chasing. Right?
Do anything for clout.
You do anything for clout. And so, there are...
But they don't get nobody the right to take nothing from you.
Experience a lifestyle. And once they experience it, it's very hard to go back. I'll be honest with you. The first time I flew on a PJ or a private plane...
I haven't flown at all, so go ahead, please.
And you fly on it a couple of times, it makes it almost impossible to fly coach. Right? Like if at that point, if you're not on a plane and someone is not serving you food, bringing you drinks without you pulling out your credit card or something of that nature, or without you sitting next to someone who is with a kid or some other stuff, at that point, it makes it almost impossible. And I'm just saying that for me, because of that experience, right? You've flown on these planes. Now you think about that. That's just a plane. Now you're talking to about someone who's never stayed in a regular room, who's always
I'm sure they know that.
Penthouse suite. If you've never been to a penthouse suite or stayed into a penthouse suite,
I'm
or
sure
been
they know
a
that.
guest of a hotel, the
Maybe it's so
experience is
high they
totally
can't
different.
get it. I don't know.
And when you are receiving the reciprocation of, or the benefits of that person's lifestyle, to have that, to be removed from that, because I'm not going to say take it away, but to be removed from that is very difficult, because Capricorn talked about it. I'm on yachts, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, and I had this great job. Well, if you no longer have that job,
Get paid to be real. Apply for InFocus.
I didn't know what to expect going in.
well, if you no longer have that job, you're not entitled to those perks. And I'll give you a perfect example, because I thought about this earlier today.
Please.
Many of your listeners have walked off jobs. They've either called in and said, I'm not coming back in, I quit.
You right, Beauty.
They've walked in and said, I quit, because of how they were treated, right?
Right.
They quit a job. Lots of people have quit jobs. What made it so difficult, especially given this circumstance, for someone to quit a job? Because if you're talking about mental abuse and you're talking about the psychological...
Money for who, Pressure? Would you say money is the motive of this case? For who? Who is the... Who is it? Who feels like it's about money? The witnesses or the feds? And I say that because no, because if it was for the people, then they wouldn't have to be subpoenaed. No, the feds wanted Diddy. Let's be clear. The feds been wanting Diddy. This is personal between the feds and Diddy, and Diddy feeling like he's above the law. He was the black what is it, Al Capone? He felt like he was the black Al Capone. He was untouchable. And just like Kevin Costner part in that movie, The Untouchables, he was hell-bent on bringing him down, is how the feds feel about Diddy. And I'm sure your partner, whose name you don't want me to bring up. So it wasn't the people. Everybody was motivated. Other people had already got money. They had already got it. They didn't have, this case don't have nothing to do with those people. Those people have been settled for years, and we didn't know nothing about it. And if the feds wouldn't have brought it to light, we still wouldn't have known nothing about it. He would have gotten away with it. So we cannot put that on the witnesses and say it was about money with them, because they're not the ones that's bringing this racketeering RICO case. That's the feds. That's all the feds.
Aspect of it. And
we wouldn't have never known nothing about none of these lawsuits and settlements.
The first time it happened.
Personal assistant jobs are...
And Diddy should have took the plea deal. Bottom line, he should have took that plea deal.
And when you are receiving the reciprocation of, or the benefits of...
We are here because he didn't take that plea deal.
Lifestyle, to have that, to be removed from that, because I'm not going to say take it away, but to be removed from that is very difficult, because Capricorn talked about it. I'm on yachts, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, and I had this great job. Well, If you no longer have that job,
so did Capricorn.
You're not entitled to those perks. And I'll give you a perfect example because I thought about this earlier today.
Please.
He done settled with a lot of people we don't know nothing about.
Jobs. They've either called in and said, I'm not coming back in, I quit. They walked
He
in
should have
and
took
said,
that
"I
deal."
quit," because of how they were treated, right? Right. They quit a job. Lots of people have quit jobs. What made it so difficult, especially given this circumstance, for someone to quit a job? Because if you're talking about mental abuse and you're talking about the psychological aspect of it, and you're working for someone, why didn't you quit the first time it happened?
Personal assistant jobs are jobs of, strenuous work. I mean, you don't know day in, day out, you don't know what you're going to deal with, to the point where I see everyone possibly not saying, I'm going to be this person's personal assistant for a decade or on. You're going to want to one day grow out to do something else. So I look at it like buyer's remorse. That's how I kind of look at it like that, just to play devil's advocate. I'm like, more so you didn't get what you kind of wanted out of the thing. So therefore, and we're going to get into her testimony a little more, but her coming to speak, some of the, of course the prosecution is bringing these witnesses forward. Mm-hmm. So they're making sure that they're getting people that's going to speak against Diddy and things that he's done.
If he'd have took the plea, it wouldn't have been about that. He just would have went to jail for his crimes.
And all this, it sounds like a lot of buyer's remorse of what they put in versus what they got out of it.
Well, I'll give you even more.
Yeah, they were pimps.
I think one of the dangers that the prosecution faced is all of these individuals are not equally situated to Sean Combs. So other than Kid Cudi, there's not been anyone who could take or leave Puffy. They all were either asked to leave or they left, but all of them tried to come back and tried to grab hold the lifestyle that they experienced when they were with him. And so you're talking about years away from them and you come back. And so that's going to play with the jury. Whether people want to hear that or not, that's going to play. Because if you and I are both millionaires and you abuse me and I stick around, okay, why would this person doesn't need anything? Why are they subjecting themselves to this? Might be one thing. But someone who was elevated and received those benefits were no longer there and came back. And quite honestly, a lot of these people or some of these individuals have either had civil suits.
No, everybody ain't gonna compromise themselves for money. Or Lady P, not me.
Kind of the defense has insinuated that this person is going to file a civil suit against Sean Combs.
Yeah, I believe even Capricorn herself, she had settled, and they didn't speak on the amount, but there was a situation where she settled. And just when you hear, and again, this just goes to celebrityism.
I think that's the devil's playground.
When you hear
that everybody can be compromised by money. Not me. I don't have to have it all like that.
Situation comes up and you hear about, this, because of course normally settlements are sealed, can't really talk about the amount and things of that nature, but when you hear that someone settled, does that play as just a guilty conscience on the jury as far as if you settled, that means you probably did it versus maybe they just didn't want to take it to court and pay for the lawyer fees and all that. Does that play to jurors that if you settled prior, that it's more so that you're guilty of whatever they're reaching out for?
This goes back to my argument, even when I deal with my own executive assistant or talk to individuals, everything is relative based on what you understand, right? You and I might say to ourselves, hey, I'm going to supersize my meal. Well, someone who is counting every penny, that might seem like a stretch. It's just 35 cents or $1 to us, but to someone else, that's $1 million. So when you start talking about individuals working for people who have this type of success, they understand that being in that atmosphere, right? These individuals wouldn't have been able to meet Rihanna. She went on vacation with Rihanna.
Oh man, it's kind of wild.
Had it not been for her ability to be with Sean Combs, she would not have been afforded that opportunity. And so, all of that is going to play into the defense's defense, in the sense that these people were elevated to a status, and when they were no longer part of it, like you said, buyer's remorse, resentment because they weren't let back in, or maybe they thought of themselves that they had arrived and they no longer needed him. And when they stepped out, they realized that that was not the case. People do it all the time. They go out, they work for people, they go out, try to start their own business doing the same thing, and realize it wasn't as easy when they were with the company doing it on their own.
Definitely. Now, during the testimony, of course, this week is the first time we're actually hearing, outside of what Cassie experienced, the R word, grape. We're actually hearing that scenarios where Diddy, did that to his personal assistant, to where when she describes it as the first time it happening, and I understand how even any women juror could understand, when they say things like he forced himself into my space, he had one hand undoing his belt, the other hand, grabbing himself and putting himself inside me. Those words are triggering not only to, like you said, the elderly, the young, women, and most men. To hear the allegations of that's where he did, and mind you, there was multiple allegations. She spoke on being on a yacht where she just walked by and he was standing right there. That it happened right there again. She was on a bus. She was on one of the things. He came in, she just felt the weight on her, woke up to him on top of her, and he did it right there again. It's always the interpretation of what it is at the time. Because again, normally if it's a violent, raping, you're gonna go to the police. You're gonna tell somebody right then and there. You're gonna have somebody be able to co-sign saying that, she told me that happened immediately. Mm-hmm. For it to be so many years later, a decade or so later, and she's saying that what she experienced was not, willingly. She did, it was forced on her. Then it happened again and again.
Men have a hard time with that one.
Where does it come as far as that testimony, where the belief is in that, like, okay, you didn't leave, and this happened to you again and again, and you sound like he's like, I didn't want it. There was a time when she's in the closet, he just walked in, pulled himself out, grabbed her head, and made her, whatever. And you stayed. And so it comes to like, and again, it's very touchy subject right now as far as speaking on this, but how does that play out in the court in front of jurors when you stayed and it kept happening, and then finally up until him getting caught with this whole situation now is when now you're like, okay, let me tell my story.
So let me start off with the pluses for the prosecution on this, right? Those graphic details and going back and saying the things that she said are going to be absolute key. And it's going to be the weight of the jury or the weight of that testimony for the jury to kind of decide if that is plausible or believable. And to go through those type of recounting what happened to you is something that's very powerful. And for her to be able to give, and we don't know exactly how detailed she got into that testimony, right?
Right.
Did she talk about birthmarks or anything that only someone who would have had a sexual encounter with someone would know? Those type of things are going to be absolutely key. The second thing is the grooming aspect of it. The previous, I can't remember which of the male assistants made the statement, but when he was talking about Ms. Ventura, he said, this is going to be easy, I'm paraphrasing, because she's so young.
Facts.
Oh, yeah.
And so now, depending on the age of this assistant,
she's moldable.
These acts happen, it could show that
he
Holmes
admitted his
had
intent.
a target range or an age group that he kind of knew that if he showed himself to be a father figure or put himself in that Camelot type atmosphere, or Lancelot type atmosphere, that he would be able to have his way with these women. And so all of that is going to play in a juror's mind. On the flip side, for the defense, the question was brought up. You were interviewed by law enforcement. Why didn't you bring this up then? Why are you just now bringing this up during this trial? That wasn't your testimony or your statements to law enforcement previously. And so the credibility of her statements and the gaps are going to be things that the jury is going to look at, especially if the defense hammers in on that. That, okay, she said this, but when she gets up here, she makes it worse by saying these things. Why weren't they said then? And so all of that's going to play a role, especially since she was seeing a therapist and, you know, the thought process might be she's come or she's had some.
Yeah, he knew he was molding her, grooming her. He knew that. He said it.
And so she should have said these things previously. I wouldn't even be surprised if the defense would lay into the fact that the prosecution coached her into saying some of these things.
Yeah, she mentioned something, and again, it's all about when you say things like, she said, Diddy always liked to finish. Like how long did it last? She mentioned that until he finished, you know, like he always finishes. And I'm like, man, if, you know, and I get it, again, touchy subject to where, how do you tell a person no or stop, or it just goes into the question of, so this is going on for minutes, let's say, going into, and she didn't say it was quick, like they say, how long did it take? Quick, but that's, you know, relative. It's relative. So, but she did mention that he liked to finish, like he had to, you know, finish. And I'm like, man, it goes back to, like you said, if the defense, you know, brings it in, you know,
okay, y'all, I gotta go.
Laughing, did you enjoy it and things? And she almost like say,
they almost finished. I gotta go.
Should Diddy? I gotta get your take on this. Should Diddy testify? Should he get on that stand to speak to his point of view?
A fool is a victim.
All these scenarios.
A fool who believe that.
I don't
who
know.
believe it. They're still a victim, whether they believe. That's what love bombing is.
Especially in a criminal case. I'm going to drill it. I need to see what your temperament is. I need to see if you get frazzled or if you change stories. And let me just tell everybody, you can say whatever the heck you want to say. Mm-hmm. I've seen the strongest people who thought they were all that, people who like would argue with people in the street and fight, get up on that witness stand and crumble.
Okay.
The bright lights hit you. It's a whole different ball game because now everybody in that room is looking at you. And I'm telling you, I had a witness, a client that she told me she was the end all be all, and she was this, and she was strong, and she was this, and it was a deposition, and she got to talking, and I'm glad I wasn't on camera because I looked at her side-eyed like, where was this woman who was talking this noise outside?
What does crumbling look like? Like getting in front of the stand and speaking, what is it? Stuttering? Is it losing your composure, yelling, argumentative? Like, what does crumbling look like when they expect you to go up there and be, all right, knock it out the park?
It's all of the above. It's all of the above. I mean, it is sitting up there saying, I don't know. Well, in your statement, you said, well, do you stand by it? Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I could have missed something. Or you start, you go rogue. And now whoever's asking you the questions, you're saying yes to everything that they're asking you because you just want to get them to leave you alone. And so, you know, depending on, and his behavior, it's such when you're dealing with type A personalities and people who have been catered to and have, I like to call it godlike mentality, right? Like I can make you, break you. When you have, and you've seen it in movies, Jack Nicholson and A Few Good Men, when he hits his fist down and says, you can't handle the truth. He got broke. He was strong, he was strong, but he got broke based on the fact that he started to testify against himself. That was a statement against interest.
That's what Diddy gonna do on the stand.
There you go. And I think a good lawyer, Brian Steele, like he's cold.
I like Steele.
Yeah, he's on point, man. A good lawyer could break you down. Like they see already. Oh, I want him to get on that stand just so I know his temperament. I know what trigger words could get him to crack. And
but his cross of Mia is going to be and just taking from people who were in the room.
Yeah.
His cross of Mia was supposedly very strong. And so you really need to balance how you come across with the jury. Remember, they didn't cross mom.
Correct.
And so, especially dealing with women who are on the jury. And I'm not saying that to be sexist, but even some of my comments on here, even though they're just playing out flat, straightforward legal analysis, because I didn't say certain things or because I didn't lean a certain kind of way in my response to the question, it was taken wrong. And so you can have the same thing happen when you have a man crossing a victim. It could come off wrong if he's too strong. And they said he leaned in pretty hard, especially when dealing with her videos or the
so she a type D personality.
Pictures and notes of her giving Sean Combs accolades and saying that I love you. So, and he kept leaning into.
Oh, he like type D
but
people.
This is the man who raped you.
that is facts. Let me ask you, who would you say in your just watching high profile cases? Do you remember a lawyer just putting on just a prosecutor on the prosecution team, just putting on a show, like just did an amazing job that you have to applaud? Is there any cases that you can maybe gear our audience to maybe go back and watch some court TV or something? After my car wreck, there was a lot I did.
He like D personality people.
Help organize my medical records and bills.
Who beauty queen, who you talking to?
Not really.
Nothing stands out.
Nothing really stands out. I mean, I will tell you that there are some prosecutors.
I don't support predators.
The DA's office here in Dallas and a couple that I've seen in Houston that
I don't support predator terrorists, and I support the truth.
Right? Their demeanor is very straightforward, but at the same time not cold and calculating, and they'll ask questions and they won't ask for too much.
No, beauty queen asked the question.
If you're a prosecutor, what we tend to do, and we see it when we see pastors. You ever seen a pastor and the crowd is clapping and people are falling out and crying, and instead of closing it down,
now pressure needs to go, beauty queen. Pressure needs to go to a DV shelter and talk to victims. That's what pressure needs to do.
But yet you went back for more, and so that old cliche.
That's something he needs to do with his daughter and bond.
Prosecutors go beyond that, or attorneys go beyond that. They run the risk of losing the jury and losing that momentum that they had and not letting the jury. What we tend to do, and we see it when we see pastors. You ever seen a pastor and the crowd is clapping and people are falling out and crying, and instead of closing it down, they go another 30 minutes. And now people sit in church like this.
Yeah.
And,
he got the exit music and he's starting over.
They their energy, and you hit that high note, but yet you went back for more. And so that old cliche, always leave them wanting. When prosecutors go beyond that, or attorneys go beyond that, they run the risk of losing the jury and losing that momentum that they had and not letting the jury
just go and check it out and talk to them.
When you bathe in a moment,
because you hard.
You go too far, you brush them off, and then they can't remember.
You've always practiced on the defense side of things? Have you ever done prosecution?
I have been a prosecutor.
Okay. Which one? What percentage have you done more of, or less of, when it comes to?
On criminal side, I've probably done more defense than prosecution. You know, when I prosecuted a case.
Hey, Scott.
When I prosecuted a case, I think I was a pretty good prosecutor. And that's more for your celebrity news.
Yeah.
Yeah, he wanna.
You have to have 2 of the 8 charges put against them to give it a RICO. So whether extortion, kidnapping, arson, whatever it is, they got to get 2 of the 8 charges. So with Ventura, and not only that, but also you hear about Kid Cudi, you have arson, you hear about kidnapping, you hear about
Can I pause you right there?
Please.
And I want you to continue to go, but so on the arson, speculative. No hard evidence that he actually committed it or ordered it other than through Capricorn. The thing with the gun, right? She says he came in with the gun in his hand and he said, let's go kill or get him.
No, he said, I don't give a fuck.
And she left.
What you not want?
I haven't seen the transcript.
You sure haven't.
On this one, but to all accounts of what took place in this, he came in with a gun and he said, let's go. I don't really recall any testimony or anything.
You don't recall, but it was there.
Basically pointed the gun at her, told her, if you don't come with me, I'm going to kill you, or any of those things. And so I'm pretty sure toward the end, the defense is going to say he might have come in angrily. He might have come in, even if he came in with a gun, it wasn't directed toward her. It wasn't directed. She just so happened to be the person who knew where he lived. Right?
Right.
So he came and got her because you worked for me. Now, I said early on that they were going to potentially get him for a RICO on everything but the sex trafficking. Even though they still have it with the flying in of the escorts or the dancers. But I said it was going to be most likely the drugs, because they've laid down the foundation that everyone that was, or better yet, Ms. Ventura and Sean Combs liked to do drugs, and they had their assistants go out and buy the drugs. They gave them cash to buy the drugs. And so now you have this enterprise of really drug trafficking, right? You have your employee using them as a mule. You have a corporate entity. So now you are the head of this organization and they work for you, and you're telling them to do things that are illegal. And so there's several things that were done that were illegal. People talk about the cash for the baby oil and the sex toys versus using the company credit card. I'm not really that hell-bent on that being.
It's other bigger things that he's done.
If I go on a legal trip and I'm doing something for a case, if I'm not eating lunch during that case, right? If I'm not in a courtroom, if I'm not in a law office doing something like working on that, if I wanted something outside, for example, I wanted a bag of chips, or I wanted something that really didn't have anything to pertain to the case, I'll pay for that myself, right? I'm not charging that to a client.
Oh yeah, it's most definitely majority of male thing, gaslighting.
As far as something that pertains to me personally, I'm not putting a stick of gum on the corporation.
But 300 bottles of baby oil, a cash, or we're gonna use the bad boy account to,
No, that's still, you love that baby oil. But
I'm just looking at it as, because they're gonna try to find the footprint of where that money, to show like, oh, we have the receipts, we have
the IRS is already looking. IRS is already counting up money.
A lot of it was cash. And I actually had something to read to the to the indictment. When we talk about the indictment, The government must prove that the defendant abused, threatened, or coerced women and others around him to fulfill sexual desires, conceal his conduct. Sean Combs relied on employees, resources, and influence to his multifaceted business and empire to lead or led to control over these individuals, creating a criminal enterprise whose members and associates engaged in and attempted to engage in, among other crimes, sex trafficking, forced labor, kidnapping, arson, bribery, obstruction of justice. And so those things, that obstruction of justice, potentially paying off witnesses and trying to keep people from testifying, and then the kidnapping portion of it, but also the forced labor. We need to talk about that because that is a crucial part of it.
He out of here.
Work for anyone at a high
level. He out of here.
Knows that there are some cases where you work more than
common sense with what he just named out.
Interesting.
He out of here
to talk about.
That's logic.
I was babysitting for a very famous.
What this attorney just called out.
That you sure know.
He out of here.
My bosses had.
Interesting to talk about.
Okay, definitely. Thank you for that. That's
him paying out.
That's what we have you here. The education of it all. It was like a lot was cash.
One more time for the one time.
I actually had something to read to the
please.
To the indictment. When we talk about the indictment, the government must prove that the defendant abused, threatened, or coerced women and others around him to fulfill sexual desires.
Are we all listening to what I good here? Coerce sexual desires. Let's go. Let's listen.
Bad boy account to. I mean,
let's listen what I go there.
I'm just looking at it as, because they're gonna try to find the footprint of. I gotta ask you your take on this because the footprint of
one at a high level knows that there are some cases where you work more than 7 days straight, and so that's going to be interesting to talk about.
Okay, definitely. Thank you for that.
No, that's still, you love that baby oil. But
I'm just looking at it as, because they're gonna try to find the footprint of where that money, to show like, oh, we have the receipts, we have here goes bank drafts of.
But it was cash. But it was
a lot was cash.
A lot of it was cash. You know what? I actually had something.
Let's listen right here. After this, we leave.
When we talk about the indictment. The government must prove that the defendant abused, threatened, or coerced women and others around him to fulfill sexual desires, conceal his conduct.
Hold on. Aaron. We don't dox. You will not look pressure up. That's doxing. We don't dox over here. Now, if you can't handle him, leave him alone. But you will not be looking him up. Now, that's crossing the line. That's doxing. You saying I'm looking you up right now? That's doxing. He not bothering you. Don't talk to him. You can block him. He not bothering you. No, we're not going to do that. Now, either you block him so you won't see his comments, or I will have to block you because you threatening him. Let's be clear. So which one is it? Are you going to block him so you won't see his comments and his comments won't bother you? Or do I need to bother you for threatening to dox him? No pressure. No. By Aaron eyes, you threaten him. No, you out of here. No pressure. She out of here. She out of here. She out of here. We're not doing that. Absolutely not. Y'all say bye to Aaron. Aaron, yes. Don't threaten nobody over here. If you cannot handle it, stay in the clouds. But do not come down commenting and get caught up in your feelings. Don't do that. Do not do that. Me and Pressure don't agree a lot. But I ain't gonna dox nobody. No. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Pressure, you don't change nothing. And again, this goes to whoever. If you can't handle someone's opinion, you know, strong, because mine is strong too, then stay in the clouds, baby. But don't threaten to look nobody up. Absolutely no.
Employees, resources, and influence to his multifaceted business and empire to lead or led to control over these individuals, creating a criminal enterprise whose members and associates engaged in and attempted to engage in, among other crimes, sex trafficking, forced labor, kidnapping, arson, bribery, obstruction of justice. And so those things, that obstruction of justice, potentially paying off witnesses and trying to keep people from testifying, and then the kidnapping portion of it, but also the forced labor. We need to talk about that because that is a crucial part of it. Anyone who's worked for anyone at a high level knows that there are some cases where you work more than 7 days straight. And so that's going to be interesting to talk about.
Okay, definitely. Thank you for that. That's the
He out of here.
The educational.
Based on what he just said.
So I gotta ask you your take on this because you know Trump was asked in a news conference, of course.
Who do I want to hear this?
Is he considering pardoning Diddy after, of course, he did Larry Hoover, the Christies, NBA YoungBoy. And he mentioned, he said, I want to see if, I don't know the facts of the case. You know, he said we were friends once. I don't think he likes me now. But, you know, they used to hang out. And he really liked, you know, Puff Daddy liked, Trump back then. But he said he wants to see if
when he was entertaining them parties.
If he's being mistreated by the law, he will look into pardoning him. To say that while the trial is going on, what's your
president?
Say, hey, I'm gonna let these guys out. They're going home tomorrow. While these other two just really quiet.
Laid so much on the sexual acts and her statements as far as initiating or instigating some of these things. I really wasn't, and I think a lot of legal individuals or legal proponents were saying the same thing. That's kind of iffy. Right. And then week 2, I said, hey, look, they're going to have to bring in, or week 1, at the end of week 1, I said, they're going to have to bring in an expert to explain to us why her testimony was such that she is a victim. And so they did that. But like I said before, because she had an interview.
They're going to have to do it one more time at the end.
Spoken with Sean Combs. Her testimony is really just an overview of what happens in the mind state of someone who's a victim, and the defense could very well bring someone out to speak against that, and they should. They have to have their own expert to come
I agree.
Talk about that. And so it wasn't really until this week, and I said that, right? I said that they needed to build upon these things, and now they're going to have to show something other than sex trafficking. And I said the drugs and the moving of the money were all part of something that could affect the case and cause them to really be able to prove that RICO portion of it. And that was probably their strongest suit, that the sex portion of it was really just to agitate and anger a jury against Sean Combs. But now they've started to lean more into that. And so it'll be curious in the next week or so who else they put up.
Man. Well, we definitely looking forward.
Okay, y'all. I'll see y'all tomorrow.
Goes in, like you said. Now they're bringing out this. We're about to probably see some artists come forward.
Ooh, artists.
Do you feel like any celebrities may actually?
Ooh,
like you said,
celebrities.
Cudi was the biggest on the level of Diddy. Do you feel like we may see more celebrities that's probably on some of these
We
tapes.
need to see KK.
That may you feel like we may get any big names coming in to sit down.
D-Rock.
Who the feds knocked on the door of. And so, you know, anyone who's ever dealt with a federal case knows that if you have any association with that person, right, they could come knock on your door. I had a
At
case
any time.
where this young man had nothing to do with anything on this case. And they came, and just like you see in the movies, black SUV'd them, picked them up, detained them, basically illegally, and questioned him. And when I went to go talk to the AUSA and the agent in charge, they gave me the...
Yeah, I'm sorry for what just
Right, like,
happened,
what you gonna do?
but we can't do that
I
over
had-
here. I'm sorry.
And so, and I'm not saying all of them are like that.
I'm not even gonna start
And
that.
so
I'm not gonna
you
condone it.
very well
I'm not
find
with
yourself
it.
in a
And
web of something that you didn't know anything about, and have testimony elicit from you to talk about what you did see or what you
and I
didn't
have
know.
a strong opinion
Just because
about
of your status, if you never
predators.
saw him
And
or if you ever did drugs with him, that too goes to the credibility of the prosecution's case.
and you know, I have removed people before for Aaron
kind of roll out next.
who
For those who are following this trial or just trying to catch the clip notes.
was attacking her,
It's
but
about to
you
get interesting as far as,
doxing,
them
no.
honing in on the final
Looking
portion of
somebody
the
up, no.
prosecution's case. So it's about to get very interesting, and I can't wait to have you come back and speak on it. In the meantime, before I let you go, I gotta have you, man. Speak
So I'm
on
sorry, y'all.
Who's your drug? Like, this is one of the most.
I didn't want to do it,
You done came. You're up in the bar.
but I
a little
had
bit,
to.
No pun intended. Can you shout out your
So y'all have a good night. I'll see y'all tomorrow.
I'm nervous because I
Pressure.
get beat up so much. So, you know.
I don't want nobody to change who they are for their opinion. We can, you know, we can laugh together. We can cry together. We can get in our feelings together. You know, everybody's not going to agree with me. I'm definitely not going to agree with everybody. I have strong views, not just with Pressure, with some other people as well. But Precious is very respectful. He's very respectful. He doesn't cuss. He don't talk to people. You know, the worst Pressure in his personality on these chats is calling people fools and playing with your common sense. And ain't none of that. No, we can't do that, y'all. We don't want to start that. We don't want to start that. So shout out to all y'all who understand my position. I care about everybody. Bye, beauty queen. Yeah. So y'all have a good one. I hated to do that, y'all. Can y'all tell? But now Pressure didn't do nothing wrong. That's just his opinion. And me and Pressure tease all the time in our disagreement. So, Bye. Pressure, you see what you made me do? Bye, y'all.